Summon Sign is brought to you by you. If you want to learn how to support our show, go to patreon.com/laststandmedia. Hello, everyone. Welcome to episode 71 of Summon Sign, Last Stand Media's weekly in-depth gaming discussion podcast. I'm your host, as always, Brad Ellison. Joining me, I have two fine gentlemen. I feel like these are like the coolest dudes at LSM. Some of the coolest guys right here. First, we got Mr. Hoeg Law. Hoeg, how are you, my friend?
I'm good. It's very nice of you to say. I have to admit, my immediate reaction was, do you have two other people in the green room somewhere? But I appreciate that introduction. Happy to be here. A lot of great games in the first half of 2025. Lots of good stuff to talk about.
Hoeg, I love you on here because you're always playing a bunch of games, and that's the kind of people I want on here. You're playing cuts that people aren't always playing at the company too. Like one game we'll talk about later on. So I saw you're playing that. I was like, oh, good. We're going to get to cover it in some way. So that's awesome for the show. And also we got Mr. Lord Cognito. Cog, how are you, dude?
Hanging in, man. Hanging in. Busy week.
Yes,
but
sir.
A lot of games, a lot of announcements. Good to see you. Good to see you, Brad. Good to see Hoeg.
Yeah.
And I'm excited, man, to talk about these games we got lined up, man. And news. We got news going on.
Yes, we got news we'll talk about just real briefly. How's things going with the Iron Lords, man? I always see you guys out there. You're busy right now. Probably playing Doom, I believe.
Yes. So Doom, the Dark Ages, we got our copies. So we're knee deep with that. Obviously, we got the Road to Tokyo stuff, which has been really cool because we've been putting off Tokyo Game Show for years. That's been the dream. So it looks like finally it's all coming together, and the community makes us do a bunch of foolishness to support our goals.
Yeah, I saw you in some costumes, right?
Yeah. They had me in a King Koopa suit. It was ridiculous. They're having fun, man. Look, at the end of the day, they vote, the highest wins, and then from there, it's like a physical challenge, and then it's like a cosplay challenge, and all these ridiculous things. So, yeah, that's what's been going on with us. But I'm hyped, man. I'm hyped. We got a Summer Games Fest, so hopefully, Brad, I see you.
I'll be there. Me and Dustin will be there.
Well, Dustin's pulling up. Nice. Oh, that's really dope. So a lot of trips, a lot of planning. So I'm in the grind.
My question is though, if you go to Tokyo and when you go to Tokyo,
yes.
Are you wearing the Crocs?
No, the Crocs are not wearing. The Crocs will stay immortalized there. They will never be worn again.
Hey,
God bless. I will admit, for all my slander, when I was forced to wear them by the community for that one day, they were comfortable. I have to give them that. I have to give them that. I see why people
I've heard they're very comfortable. I just can't do it, man. It's like maybe when I'm a dad with like 4 kids, that's when I'll start wearing it. But nah, I can't do that right now. Bro, I have too much self-respect for right now.
This is like ready to get a minivan now. I'm ready to get a minivan. Yeah. I'm ready. Look at this, man. This is ridiculous. This is a hungry hippo. Remember Hungry Hippo?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
That's what this is to me, Hoeg. But salute to the people who wear this, fashionistas who love this. I just can't do it.
Yeah, I can't do it.
I will admit, as a father of multiple kids, that I have basically no drip.
I think that's acceptable, though, when you're a dad. That's just the way it is.
Yeah, I agree.
I only really wear anything outlandish if it'll embarrass my teenage daughter, which it's very easy to do.
That's also like a dad.
Yeah.
Dad love embarrassing their kids.
Push those buttons.
All right. Before we get into the show, everybody, please check us out on patreon.com/laststandmedia if you'd like to support us. You get early access to this show as well as our other shows like Defining Duke, which Cog is a part of, our Xbox podcast. So if you want to hear Maddie and Cog's thoughts all about the Xbox brand, please check that out. Punching Up, the other show I host with it's all about Nintendo. Switch 2 is right around the corner. Everyone's got one. Cog got one pretty easily, it looked like, when he pre-ordered one. He didn't have to go through some drama like I did.
Yeah, what'd you have to go through? Like, where'd you end up getting it from?
I got it from Best Buy. I got the best possible outcome for me, Cog. I got it from Best Buy, and I can do in-store pickup immediately. Nice. So and they're going to do like the 9 p.m. launch also, I believe. So that'll be nice and good for me.
Nice.
But I had 3 sites up going the whole time, Cog. Target, Walmart, Best Buy. Target, I got in the cart. Couldn't check out.
Oh, yeah.
Kept trying for like 40 minutes. Yep.
Bro, it's terrible.
Walmart, I got credit card fraud detection and all this kind of stuff. It was brutal. I was desperate.
Damn.
I was
I
the
have to
second to
say-
last person to get one. Like Maddie was the last, and Maddie was going through it as well.
Yeah, you gotta do it.
I have to say that the midnight digital pre-order release time in the Eastern time zone is ridiculous for at least people of my vintage. So
Yeah.
I was up at like 1:30 in the morning just looking at the various queues and things, hoping that the websites didn't break down. But I also, ostensibly, uncanceled as of right now, have a pre-order for Switch 2 ready to go as well.
Excellent.
Nice. Yeah, man. It was difficult. I mean, it was difficult online, but I was able to get accessories. But the actual console, I was surprised how easy it was because I haven't been to GameStop in so long.
Yeah.
And what happened was my local GameStop actually shut down.
Oh.
So I'm like, oh no! So I had to find like this kind of remote one in the central New Jersey, and the how much allocated was ridiculous. It was like 51
units?
Mario Kart, units, and 21 of the base version. I could not believe it. So I'm counting the line. I'm like, all right, it's about 40 people here. I should be okay. But I did the old school wait online, man. I haven't done that in years, but I was happy to get the pre-order for the Switch done.
So what did you pick up, Cog? What did you get? You got the Mario Kart bundle. What else?
Yeah, Mario Kart bundle. Bravely, was it Default?
Oh, Bravely Default. Yeah.
Yeah, because I did that. And then for me, my Switch future is going to be a little bit different. It's going to be a lot of testing the functionality of some of my older favorite games that I haven't played in a while, like Astral Chain. What was it? Marvel Ultimate Alliance. A lot of stuff that, one, they didn't have party chat and online functionality. And also, I want to see if there's any performance boosts and stuff like that. But I'm excited, man. I'm excited. A little powerful Switch, see what's going on, put it through its paces, and then I'll be able to take it to LA on the play. Because I'm doing a midnight launch, and then I'll fly out for Summer Games Fest. So I'll have the Switch 2. Maybe we could buddy up on that.
Excellent.
They'll be right on top of each other, right? So you'd be like the only guy with a Switch 2 in the airport.
Oh, yeah. You know, I got to flex. I got to flex a little bit.
Have some little kids come up to you, want to see Mario Kart.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Oh, that Mario Kart's in there, man. Only thing I was like, damn, no Metroid ready.
Not yet.
That Metroid. So
Not yet. I know, me too. That's going to be fun when that comes out.
Yes.
Hogue, what'd you pick up?
Well, I got the Mario Kart bundle because I think that's exactly what Nintendo wanted you to buy with the pricing and everything else. I agree with Cog. I'm most interested in what do some of the, let's say, less performative Switch games get as a boost just from playing on the Switch 2. Not the Switch 2 editions. Those look nice. I agree with what the Treehouse put up there. They looked interesting. I'm excited about Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom, but I'm really interested in like what happens to Link's Awakening because that was basically unplayable for me.
Oh, that's getting a patch. Yeah. That's getting an update.
It's getting one of the free, like boosted on Switch 2 hardware patches. I want to see what that does. They haven't showed it yet, so I'm curious.
Hopefully run good.
Yes.
That'd be nice. And Echoes of Wisdom's getting one too, so I'm happy about that because those both need it.
Well, I mean, I think there's been years. I had thought that I would purchase a Super Switch as I thought about it in my brain for years and years now when it appeared to hit the wall for what that hardware could do. And now I'm interested in seeing if they actually do have the capability of improving those games on the edge. I'd like to see Xenoblade Chronicles 3 with maybe a little bit better resolution. They use a dynamic resolution. So
absolutely.
Especially in handheld mode, that game just came apart into pixels, which is fine. It's understandable, but that's what it did.
Yeah. All right. Cog.
Yo.
Some big news hit today.
Yeah.
Gotta know, as our Xbox expert right here, one of the two, gotta know how you feeling about Gears of War coming to PlayStation. Just announced today. What is it called? Reload or something?
It's Reloaded.
Reloaded.
Yes.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah.
The semantic guy in me says that because it's Gears, that should be retooled. But I like puns.
Yeah.
I see what you're doing. Yeah, man, it's the big one. I was actually surprised from the announcement coming from the PlayStation account first.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So to me, that's actually symbolic from a marketing standpoint. Obviously, discussions, in my opinion, seem to be had. And I was bracing my Xbox brethren, like, look, this is the new strategy. This is where they're going. Yeah. And I told people it's not going to get real until burgers, shake, and fries come. And that's Forza, Halo, and and Gears. And I think Forza, it hit, and people were like, okay, this is real. This is a core this is a pillar franchise, and the emotionality for some start to hit. But Gears and Halo are literally tent poles. So now it's like, okay, if you're not accepting this reality now, it's not more apparent is going to be than this. So yeah, I think it was interesting for that. It looks like it's going to be just the first one. Was it remastered? It doesn't seem to be a trilogy kind of thing. And the way I look at it is, look, if they're going to apply this strategy, you have to start from the beginning. You can't give them Gears of War E-Day. You can't give the Switch and the PlayStation base the later games or like Gears 5, Gears 6 until you get them up to speed with the base version. So I think that this is kind of on course. I was a little surprised that it was done now as opposed to maybe the showcase. I thought maybe that'll be a nice showcase announcement. You show it at the showcase, and then at the end, maybe you put the PS5 logos, you put the Nintendo Switch logos for marketing, and they've kind of follow suit with that. But this is interesting. They are very aggressive. And last point I'll say, like I said, in fairness for my Xbox console brethren, the emotionality is going to be the fact that the announcement was done not from the Xbox account first. And I think it's going to take some to adjust to that. That's my synopsis. So I haven't spoken to anybody. You guys are the first people I'm speaking to. The news broke like 10 minutes ago. So I'm just like, wow, this is crazy. I just saw it right now. What do you guys think?
Yeah, Hoeg, what do you think, man?
I honestly remember the years where I would grow bored of the Xbox E3 showcase because it was so Forza, Halo, Gears. Like that was it. You'd see the car come up from under the stage and there'd be a Halo section and there'd be a Gears section. So this does feel like, other than some of the things that they've already done, the first step of really the core DNA going out to the other platforms. I don't know whether it's just because it was Forza Horizon and not Motorsport, but I really didn't have the same kind of notion that this was Xbox giving that core DNA with Horizon going out the door. So this is a big moment for Xbox. It's a big moment for the brand. It's a big moment for Microsoft. And I continue to, as an economics guy, think this is the right plan for them. And I see why they're doing it this way. But there is no question that the Xbox brand, especially the plastic box that goes under your TV, is massively different now in this generation overall, but even maybe just today after this announcement, than it was before all this. So I don't blame anybody for having an emotional reaction to this kind of thing. I expect there to be wailing and gnashing of teeth online, but I think the writing was on the wall. This just kind of solidifies it. And there is a difference between certainty rather than probability. So this is a moment in time to pay attention to, but I don't see it as overly different from bringing Indiana Jones and everything else over to the PlayStation at this point in time. So I'm not the biggest Gears guy in the world. It's a franchise I'm totally fine with, but it's not one that I seek out. So I'll probably play this, but it won't be like a big launch for me personally. Yeah. But it is a big moment for Xbox.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I'm just looking at. I'm sorry, just looking at the news right now in real time, getting up to speed. So it looks like, again, cross-platform. They're doing the first, which is actually surprising. They're doing the multiplayer. That was something me and Maddie debated whether or not it would just be a PvE campaign only kind of a situation. So it's getting the full suite. You're getting crossplay. You're getting versus multiplayer, which is interesting. Looks like they're giving Xbox fans a free upgrade if you've already have the Gears of War Ultimate, which is, I believe, the one that they did for during
the not so Ultimate Edition, I guess. Now,
correct.
And Cog, can you correct me? I'm not sure I saw a Switch 2 logo on that announcement.
No. Yeah, they haven't announced like any Switch 2 things yet.
All right.
Maybe that'll be some of their showcase stuff, Cog. Maybe.
And look for the smooth price of $39.95. Okay, all right.
Yeah, I think $40 is probably pretty chill for what it is. You know, the campaign's pretty short, but it's really good. Multiplayer, $40, sure.
Yeah, crossplay.
I'm sure they'll do this with the other ones. Maybe 2 and 3 at least. We'll get that.
I was surprised it wasn't a trilogy, honestly.
Well, they could probably get away with doing them separately. I feel like then later on put them all in a bundle or something for full price. They might have learned with Master Chief Collection being like, this is too good of a deal, putting all these games in one thing. So I don't know. Now that they have them on PlayStation and people are buying them on PlayStation, their games are selling very well on PlayStation. So. Yeah, why not keep going? I mean, this could be like they're raising prices and all that kind of stuff. So maybe the $40 is a newer thing in line with that. I don't know, but I think $40 is probably fine for what it is. I didn't see $40 and be like, wow, what a ripoff.
Yeah, 40. No. They could have got away with 60.
They could have done 50 probably easily.
Probably, yeah. And people
Oblivion was at 50, right?
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, Oblivion's a massive RPG, and Gears campaign's like 6 hours, 7 hours, something like that. Maybe even shorter. I can't even recall. It's been so long, but there is multiplayer too. It's just a smaller scale game, but
Yeah.
I don't know. It's a good game. Really good game. If you guys haven't played Gears of War, highly recommend it.
Classic.
I don't even know if I'm going to get to play this though when it comes out, because it comes out at a bad time. It comes out. Lost Soul Aside is coming out right around then, and Metal Gear Solid 3 Delta is coming out. And like, I'm playing Metal Gear, man. I'm sorry, Gears. I'm playing Metal Gear, dude.
I hear you, man. I hear you. It's so many games, right? Every month there's at least
it's
two
brutal
must-haves. Then there's some cool indies or some double A's that you got your eye on. And
there's the random stuff Hoeg's playing at the same time. Yep.
Yes.
Yep. There you go.
Yes.
We got a lot of crossover on ours too. So yeah, man, it's a busy time. But yeah, August. This is hitting the ground running, and I do like the fact that it's cross-play, cross-progression, and Xbox Play Anywhere. That's a huge deal.
Yeah, that's
Whatever
awesome.
device you're on, you can play and continue your data. To me, that's the future of gaming. So get ready, man. I'm curious to see how the pre-order numbers do. Like you said, Brad, we saw some early data from PlayStation Store. Obviously, Xbox put their financials out. They're the number one publisher on PlayStation.
Yeah.
You see the pre-orders from Indiana Jones, Forza, and now Doom is on the list. So like Hoeg said, the strategy is working. I'm a person that, yes, I'm a fan of the platform, but at the same time, I was worried about the brand, right? I'm like, okay, what would happen to you? It's fine now because you're making hand over fist money, but what will happen to you next console? What's the differentiator? What makes people attracted to me? It looks like they're going with this kind of open storefront, play the games where you want. And at the end of the day, they're a platform that just happens to have a console, but they're really a third-party publisher kind of thing. And it's the new normal now.
Yeah, it totally is. And I got to say, Cog, you guys accepted it with grace right away. You're like, that's just the way it is, man. You guys were very real about it. Didn't let it ruin your fun of the games. Like you're saying, like, if this is the alternative instead of Xbox going away, it's like, I'm happy Xbox is still around. They're humongous publisher now. So they need all the money. They spend a lot of money.
That was the good news about them spending billions and billions of dollars, is that just the way giant corporations work is that they weren't going to just stop and not work to realize a return on that in some respect. Yes, it looks like a software service and a third-party publishing kind of relationship is where they're going to land on this, but they were always going to try to get that money back. They weren't just going to go away having bought all this stuff. Mm-hmm. So it's weird to follow, I know. One of the things I like to say in my neck of the woods is that we haven't always lived in this kind of tripolar Nintendo, Sony, Microsoft video game environment. I know it's been long enough that a lot of people, this is the only world they've ever known. This all is going to feel really, really weird. But we have survived. The gaming industry has lived on when it wasn't just those three at the top of the ladder.
Yeah.
Good point.
Us old boys remember when there was more players in there. We're not spring chickens anymore. So, I definitely remember. I guess a question for both of you, but Carl, let's start with you. Do you think maybe this is the end now of timed exclusives, I guess, for Xbox, like Avowed not being on PlayStation yet or anything like that? Do you think everything going forward is going to be everything at once?
I think it's more of a studio capability, functionality, how quickly they can get ports over, things like that. And then strategically, it's one of those things that I feel like if it's not exclusive, there's an asterisk as opposed to, that's something that they don't want to happen. Because I think we've got enough data now that it's like, if you're not there at the launch with the zeitgeist with all the platforms, you kind of miss out. So I think this is a strategy that, for example, with South of Midnight and Compulsion, they're a smaller studio. This was already in development. They may not have the capacity and functionality and the infrastructure to get that out there. But other studios, like, again, big publishers like Bethesda and Activision, they've theoretically with third-party publishers already doing, producing for the other platforms. So this is an easy lift for them. So I think a lot of it is just circumstantial based on, the situation of each individual studio. And I think ideally, they would like to get this out. Like the fact the Gears is symbolic because, again, this technically hasn't been announced for Xbox exclusively by itself just yet. So they're like, hey, boom, let's just get this out, rip the Band-Aid off. You get it everywhere. And I think people got to realize too is that, again, one, they're in the business of making money. Two, if you're on the platform, ultimately, if you're on the Xbox platform, you like Xbox, if you care about games, you're fine. You know what I'm saying? And by the way, hey, if you choose to, you can buy them, but you choose to have the differentiation of having Game Pass. And I don't know about y'all, with these games are costing $80 and $90, and I mean, it does seem like a very cool proposition every now and then to get first party games. It's tough, man. If I didn't have Game Pass, or we weren't content creators where we get codes and stuff like that, you have to make business decisions every month.
Yeah,
it's crazy.
Yeah, you got to.
Yeah, man. So that's what I think it is. I think it's more of a situation of circumstantial, just based on the studio capability.
Man, can you imagine if they had Game Pass when we were kids?
Oh, bro.
Like, we'd have to go to the rental store, and that was fun, but it's like, you better hope they got the game you want or something like that. You might have to go home with something else you're not too excited about, but you just got to get something.
Same popular games always out, and you not available in the store. You be mad.
Yeah.
Never get Clay Fighter. It's
Clay
always
Fighter. Clay Fighter. The Super Nintendo one?
I think the Super Nintendo one. Yeah.
Okay,
We're pulling memories from way back in the past. But yeah, I think half my collection of video games came from buying the games out of the bin at the Blockbuster after they were past their rental time period.
Yeah.
Classic.
Man. Shout out Blockbuster.
Yes. A relic of the past, baby.
Yes. All right,
Just
boys.
To answer your question, Brad, in terms of the timing and what Xbox is doing, putting my corporate hat on for just a second, one of the things I really like about what Microsoft is doing is that they're playing with cadence. They're playing with what these releases should look like. So yes, I agree with Cog that one of the things that works against selling Xboxes right now is the absolutely correct psychology of, even if it's not announced for my PlayStation that I want to play on, I have a good reason to believe it will be in the future. Yeah. But Xbox is also playing with shadow drops like Oblivion everywhere, how long we're going to keep things just on the Xbox ecosystem, when we're going to tell you that it's coming over. They're clearly testing marketing and financially at the company what is going to make them the most money, what is going to realize the most profit for them. And I like that they are experimenting with that, because it does suggest that they're trying to find an equilibrium point. Like Indiana Jones being announced as a PlayStation release before it released on Xbox is one test, right? They're going to know, they're going to have collected data as to whether or not that worked well enough for them for Game Pass sales, for Indiana Jones access on the Xbox ecosystem, for the money they made on PlayStation. They'll test that. They'll test it where they don't officially say it's on PlayStation, but you're just kind of working on your feels that it's going to come out there eventually. They're going to shadow drop. I like that this company is invested in trying to figure out what mechanism works the best for them, because that does suggest that they are in it for the long haul, in it to figure out exactly what does work. Is that going to be the same as it has been in the past? Absolutely not. But they are eagerly checking, in the way that good businesses do, what is going to work for the video gaming populace in 2026 and beyond.
Yeah. It's an exciting time in the industry. Whew. All right, guys, we got a writing here from James Solar. Hello, boys. I've been hard at work, in parentheses, and wanted to share some data with you. Including Brad, there have been 26 different people who've appeared on Summon Sign. The most common guest has been on 18 times, and there are 12 guests who have only appeared once. Cog and Hoeg both rank in top 10 most frequent guests. This is Cog's 11th time on Summon Sign and Hoeg's 6th time. Cog's first episode was number 5, and Hoeg's first episode was number 8. This is their second time being on Summon Sign together. Last time was number 62. I hope this data finds you well, and I encourage you to reach out if you ever need podcast data compiled. Best, James Solar. P.S. Brad, I am still looking forward to your revival of the Sacred League. I hope it's still possible. Yes, I've been talking to Colin about that, and it's going to come back. Just working out some of the details, so fear not. I don't know. I love stats like this and data for all these podcasts. This is good stuff.
Yeah, no, it's fantastic.
Yeah.
I love that I'm in a group of people that is smaller than U.S. presidents. So I consider this to be an elite crew.
No, I love it, man. Just people compiling data and seeing how many appearances in the episodes like that. You gotta love it. I'm a data fanatic, so all this stuff's like, oh, cool. I'm in the top percentile. All right. I thought I actually was lower. To be honest, I was like, all right, this is cool, because I felt like me and Brad don't actually pod enough, kind of thing. So that's super cool to see, and I always love being on Summon Sign. So
I can't believe I've been on this show 6 times. I'm still sitting here going, Brad's an easy ally. I don't belong on this show.
Yeah. I can't believe it's been 6 times as well. I was like,
Yeah.
oh, Hoeg's been on the show like 3 times, maybe. But I'm like, 6?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
You've been heating up the last couple of months, Hogue.
I
Yeah.
have
feel
been.
like, yeah. Mm-hmm.
As soon as you got in our Discord or staff one, you're heating up.
Yep.
Yes, I'm more present there.
Yes.
Yes. All right. Cog, I'm super curious about this game. I have not been checking anything out about the game, but it's in an interesting place. I'm hearing mixed reactions about it. So I want to get your take on it. You are a Bungie guy. So I got to know. Marathon, dude. You've been playing the closed alpha. I believe it's still alpha. I don't know if it's closed, but yeah, you're playing Marathon. Talk to me, dude.
Yeah.
What's going on?
The Marathon, man. Bungie back in the building, the latest entry, and I wanted to get an idea of what it is. To be full disclosure, I've never played an extraction shooter before, so I'm coming with a very unique perspective in the sense that that's not my number one genre, not my forte, and I think my main concern was, okay, what's going to be the hook if I go in, get loot, lose it, and then have to extract it. And you have that push pull. So let's start off with the game. So graphically, I would say the art style, it's a very chic, very minimalistic, almost like Mirror's Edge and Cyberpunk had a baby kind of thing. I like the character models. I like the design of the models. I will admit though, graphically as a whole, I was a little underwhelmed. Now, granted, they say it's a closed alpha. All things are not final. Graphics are not put in. There's so many things that are placeholder. This will not be the final release. They give you a whole bunch of, different stats and stuff, and things are constantly being tweaked as they, giving feedback as the community is playing. But I still have to admit, like, I was a little underwhelmed from the graphical performance, and I hope that will improve because I'm used to Bungie games really looking kind of cutting edge, for their time. So that was the first thing. So obviously you got your classes, you got this Glitch is a person who has like a lot of movement tech. There's a kind of like a Titan variant where this person has a shield and kind of on the front lines. And there was another character that was available in the beta, the alpha, that I took. It was called Blackbeard or something. And basically this is like the data breach person, the person who can put out a signal pulse and see who's in the proximity around them and stuff like that. So basically, you start off. You have your standard weapons that you bring in. You have your backpack, and then you have a vault. So what happens is, and then you have the black market. So you start off. You pick your weapons. You have mods. You have things you can put on each arm. You have med packs, all these things, and you take as much as you need and extra ammunition as much as you need before you deploy. So then you deploy. Now, this is where the game gets interesting. When you start off, I like the fact that they don't immediately throw you and spawn you right next to people. They give you a minute to kind of get your bearings. Control is classic Bungie. The movement feels good. Kind of like Destiny and Halo. Everything feels good. The only difference that I would say is that when you sprint, there's this meter. I think they call it the exhaust meter. And after a certain amount of times, it fills up. And when it does, you have to get back into a tactical walking kind of animation. So what they're doing is they're restricting just moving and sprinting and boosting around the map, right? You have to be judicious with those running consistently and boosting and jumping a lot. So that took a little bit to get used to because I'm used to kind of like flying around Destiny and stuff like that. So
running 100 miles an hour,
Exactly. So I take a little used to. Also, I would say like finding things on the map, just what's accessible, what's not, was a little bit of an adjustment period. Now, I will say when you go into the interior of things in Marathon, the game looks really beautiful. The design, very scientific lab kind of energy hold, very cool. And they have a system which I kind of like. This is controversial, but I think it adds a lot of tension. So what happens is you find stuff or you'll see that, remember, it's PvPvE.
Yeah.
So I will admit the AI in this game is very difficult. They are not pushovers. They're kind of like Terminator robots. They got boss types, different variants. Some of them will snipe you. Some of them, when they make eye contact or you're the aggressor, they will hunt you down. They spawn more in on the map. And it takes a lot to take them down.
Right.
Also, when you're engaging with them, obviously other people can see. So you have to choose your engagements wisely. The fun part I like about the loot is, okay, so let's say you kill some of the AI and then you're going over the loot. During that process, there's like a hold X to kind of open the loot. And then you slowly see what's in there. Now you have limited capacity on what you can carry. So you have to make this judicious decision. Okay, do I take this shotgun here? Do I take this, purple, automatic rifle kind of thing? And that's where the destiny stuff comes in, as far as like the loot chase and augments and things like that. Everything's not just guns. There's augments, there's abilities, things that make your powers special. There's things that when if you loot someone, you get this augment and you can turn invisible while you're looting. And I think what's cool about the game is that it is a lot of tension, that everything you're doing, you could be watched. You could be, you can take it out. And I think that's the thing. Now, the fun of the game is this. The exfil, which is the actual extraction points that are around the map. When you see someone or hear it, you see this huge light go up. Like, it is clearly visible. Someone is extracting, right? And at that point, you've got to make a business decision, because it's you and other players. Also, the AI then swarms in, and they bring more powerful AI to the spot. Now, the extractions take about maybe 10, 15 seconds or so to get out. Now, here's the thing. If you're in that cone, multiple people could extract. So here's where the tension is. Now you have these like unholy alliances. Like, okay, we can fight it out.
Yeah.
But we could both survive versus the AI, who is also strong, and just get out and extract with some loot and call it a day. So that's where the shystiness comes in. That's the pitch of the game. And then obviously there's factions, there's way to level up your character, stuff like that. Look, the game at its core is fun. The problem I have is I just feel from a feature standpoint, it is light.
Right.
There's only a couple of maps. They're taking feedback right now. Like, I guess the competitors in the space, Escape from Tarkov, they have things like proximity chat or stuff like things that Marathon doesn't have. Now, in fairness to the devs, they're taking all the feedback. They're updating things on the fly. My concern is that you're a couple of months out from launch. So I'm just worried that this thing comes in very feature light. Now, at the time, Borderlands was day and date with it, but now that has changed, right? But my concern is there's just not enough meat on the bone to warrant you sticking around in a climate where Fortnite and Marvel Rivals, what's going to pull them up? And then we most likely know it's not free to play. So that's what it's cool. It's good. It's something I'll jump in and jump out for now. But I think the issue, Brad, is that they've got to pick a lane. And I think what's happening with them right now is they don't know if they are the hardcore extraction shooter like Tarkov, or they want something more casual that's going to appease and make people that normally doesn't play extraction shooters play it. And that's the tough balance, because everyone's got thoughts, everyone's got feedback. And my concern is just that, man, they may have a deadline. Like, I don't know what the inner workings of Bungie is these days. I know that they're not doing well, and I'm concerned that they're in a situation where they're forced to release this without a delay. I think it needs a delay. I think there's enough here for a great game, but it's just too bare bones right now for me to say, yeah, this is going to be around for a long time. And I see the roadmap, and it's too much. Hey, we're going to add this. Oh, yeah, that's coming after launch. Oh, that cool thing we talked about. Yeah, we're going to add that later. And I'm like,
if I was them, it sounds like I would delay it as well. At least wait whatever the time would be for another patch cycle to kick in. It sounds like it needs like a patch or two before it comes out for amount of content it needs. Because a game like this that is paid right off the bat, you really need a huge splash at the start. Because if it's like fine when it comes out, it's going to be hard to get new players later on. Kind of reminds me of Overwatch 2. Like, Overwatch 2 when it came out was very bare and had a lot of weird practices. I think the game right now is in a much better spot, but it still has that kind of stink on it where people are just kind of like, eh. And you don't want that stink. And you got to be really careful with that. So if I was Sony, I'd absolutely delay the game. I would give them the time. Because it sounds like the core blueprint is cool. It's good. Like you were saying, the shooting's good, which is super important. The character movement, the classes, the design for the most part, like the interiors is really great. But when this game comes out, it needs to splash. Because it is Bungie. People have high expectations of them. And this game is in alpha right now, so they may have content planned for the full release we just don't know about. That's totally possible, but we can only base it off, what we've seen and what we've played. So right now, it does sound concerning, the sense from a content aspect, like you're saying, because that's the lifeblood of the game.
Yeah, absolutely. But, I mean, no, I'll just add one last thing. The thing that I will say that I was surprised about was I do like they have this thing called the black market where you can, let's say you have a bad run, right? And you don't extract it, you lose loot and stuff like that. One thing I like is that one, if you do extract with some things, you can kind of save it and put it in your vault. If you don't, there's a black market that cycles through kind of like a daily timer of things you can buy with the cash that you earn and the credits you earn in game. So that's kind of like almost like a consolation prize. They're not usually the best weapons, but there's something, and there's certain little gears, and it rotates. So I think that part, I was like, okay, this doesn't feel as penalized as if I lost all my gold loot and all these great augments, and then it kind of incentivizes you to have backups of things and stash things away. So I thought that part was cool. And then the contracts, if they have a skill tree, there's a lot of things to progress towards. Yeah, they do have that. And they do, what I do like is the game slowly onboards you by mission slowly. Okay, this is how you do your super move. This is how you do one of your special abilities. They want you to do that, get these contracts, get kind of abilities like that. On the flip side, for anyone who loves Bungie for narrative, and this is why I worry about like a guy like Hoeg, I see your face light up, is the story just seems nonsensical, very bare bones. It feels like the most tacked on, narrative in a game. Other than the fact that, your human consciousness is in these bodies that are known as the runners, but this whole Tau Ceti thing, I don't feel any type of emotional connectivity to this story. It just feels very bland.
Sounds like very Destiny 1.
Even worse.
God. Worse than Destiny 1 is not acceptable.
Yeah, worse than Destiny 1.
But worse for me is that I really did enjoy the original Marathon games. And so when I saw this announcement a while back, I was interested in what they were bringing to the party from the Marathon universe. And it sounds like they have some plans for that.
Yeah.
But that mostly this was a dormant IP that they could put the name on. And so this isn't my kind of game anyway, from the sounds of things. This is primarily a multiplayer game, not so interested in narrative, not so interested in lore. And so I'm probably not going to jump into it in the first instance. But I guess, Cog, I'm interested in the other game that I have seen flying around my social media timeline, Arc Raiders.
Yeah.
Have you gotten a chance to see that compared to your Marathon experience and how they compare?
I've not seen it yet, but everyone is raving about it.
That's what I've heard.
Yeah, it's one of those things that I'm like, oh boy, they may be in serious trouble, because I spoke to Attic about it. He was just like, yep, I saw it, I played it. And he's played what you call a Marathon with me. And he was just like, yeah, they're in trouble. They may have to delay. Like, this is the fun factors there. All the things that a lot of people have the complaints about with Marathon seem to be addressed. It seems to be a more polished product. So, yeah, I don't know what the pricing structure is yet. I haven't done the research on that. But
I was just looking it up on the Bitcast, and the most recent pricing structure we have for Arc Raiders is $40.
Okay.
It was originally going to be a free-to-play game, and they changed their plans last fall. Now, that's not up to date. That's last fall when we heard that. But I think it's likely that they're both going to launch at 40.
Gotcha. Yeah. Have you seen much of it, Brad? I was seen
Arc Raiders. No, I mean, I've heard a lot about it. I have, I think, a key to play it, but I think their beta period or whatever it is, their test period ended, I think, last night.
I think it was this weekend.
So I haven't got a chance to play. I've been playing Expedition pretty much the whole time. I've heard good things about it, and I'm very curious about it. And I agree with you guys that Bungie has serious competition. I think they had an edge in the sense of they could be the more, not in a bad way, the casual kind of extraction shooter to get more people into the genre. Because Tarkov is a very hardcore game, and the barrier to entry is very hardcore. You can't just play it on Steam, can't play it on your console. So this was their shot, but sounds like they got a lot of work to do.
Yes.
So hopefully when it does come out, it's great. Hopefully.
I think you guys are right on the launch being so important. As perhaps the last defender of Concord on Earth, I love that game because of the gunplay and the strategy, and there were a number of things that I really liked about it. Obviously, you can't survive that kind of car crash launch. So I'm hopeful for Bungie. I like what Bungie has put into my life for many, many decades now.
Same.
But I'm not hearing awesome things about Marathon, and honestly, I'm not the audience for it anyway. So I'm just kind of watching from afar.
Yeah.
Fair enough.
I definitely want to play it. I'll probably wait till it's actually out or very close to being out. I want to see it when it's kind of in a more polished state, because I think it sounds really cool. The idea of Bungie making an extraction shooter to me is very interesting. I haven't played the old Marathon, so I don't really know about any of that kind of stuff. So it's
It's
new
not
for
going to
me.
translate super well, but the reason that Marathon was one of young Hoeg's favorites is that it was a first-person shooter that had basically novel chapters that you would access from each database, and it would tell a story about rampant AIs and robots going crazy and all sorts of high-level science fiction stuff that would be taken in parts and put into the Halo universe that you recognize so much. But Marathon was the first that I had really experienced that really tried to tell a story at that level of complexity. And it didn't necessarily meld super well with the game you were playing at the time. So I'm not going to tell you that it was a perfect game or anything like that, but it was the first that I can remember that really was invested in telling you a story while you shot bad guys with your, pixely Doom-esque gunplay.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm really curious to see how they'll handle story in that game later on down the line. I think that's can be really interesting and really cool. I love, story being delivered in unusual ways, I suppose. Like I love From Software games and how they handle their kind of stories. I think it's really cool. I love all types of stories though, but just a different approach I think is always fun. So I am curious to see that and how they'll have Ben Starr in it because he did do that trailer. So I wonder what he'll be in the game. I have no idea. I don't know anything about Marathon, so I don't know, but I'm curious.
Marathon is one of the original crazy AIs along with System Shock.
Yes. Yeah. It's been a while since we've had a crazy AI, I feel like. Yeah. Last really big memorable one for me was GLaDOS, but there might be some I just can't recall. Let's see here. This is from Ding Dong. Hey, summoning throat goats. Okay. And we got a Duke on here, so we got to do the throat coat.
You already know.
I heard Cog was playing Marathon, and it sounds like he was having a blast. I get it, though. It's got to feel pretty abstract to hear a Bungie game and not immediately think Destiny or Halo. Because let's face it, Bungie might get flack for their story or characters, but when it comes to gameplay, they are top tier. I sat out Destiny 1 and 2 for the most part, so I really was excited to dive into Marathon, but the big question is, do I want to play an extraction shooter? Kinda, but honestly, I'm just not that competitive anymore. It's tough to keep up with the ever-evolving multiplayer scene. I think Maddie and you, Cog, were spot on to be hesitant about whether the game will actually stand out or even compare with what's already on the market. What do you guys think? Does Marathon have the legs to make a real impact, or is it going to lose or get lost in the shuffle? Well, I think it has the potential to make an impact, but will they deliver or not is the question. They have the pedigree to make an impact. They usually do. Bungie with Halo, Destiny, you can't deny those are big legendary games. But yeah, they just got to handle it right. In terms of it being an extraction shooter, not being for everyone, I totally get that. It makes sense to me. They have multiple teams though, don't they? Like, is Gummy Bears something different, or is that Marathon?
Yeah, that's separate. Yeah, that's a separate project they got going.
So I think if they're working on some sort, I know a lot of people want like a campaign, single player or like Halo-esque campaign from them. So hopefully they can deliver on that as well. But yeah, I don't think this is their only project, guys. Like right. Destiny was for like 10 years or whatever. So we shall see.
Yeah, I agree.
It's a difficult market for these things. There's no question. But Bungie is one of those companies that has survived difficult markets and getting things out that maybe shouldn't have worked before. I know Halo is a fait accompli at this point, but when Halo released, it looked cool at some CGS type shows, and nobody knew whether it would really work on consoles until it was out in your hands. Mm-hmm. And so there is a certain amount of faith I have in the Bungie brand, but obviously it's a lot different people. It's a different company than it was back then. And I am hopeful that they can continue to succeed. I do have concerns about this particular project.
Yeah, no, fair enough. I think for me, it's going to be, I think they need to have an open beta, nail it, is to get more people to have their hands on it and get a feel of it. And I think the best shot they have is that I think they need to almost take like a Rainbow Six Siege approach, like stick to the lane and nail it as far as knowing who your core identity is. You're not going to necessarily be able to appease everyone. No. And I think once you set the core tenets of what this thing is, because I think for me, the differentiator is the PvE, the aspect of it incorporated with the PvP, because it is intimidating. I'm not the super competitive person, right? And you like get sniped for some guy, like that is intimidating. But if I could farm some robots or team together with stuff and then get my bearings a little bit, that kind of helps me out. And I will say a thing that really they should pull from is that I thought was kind of one of the first on console space was Division with the Dark Zone. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like they kind of initiated that. They had that tension with it. And what I like is that they're doing things here that will make it fair for, newbies. Now, the big last point I'll say is going to be a very controversial one is that I have to see how they handle seasonal resets, because what they're saying is at the end of the season, and I get the reason, they're saying, hey, we don't want the overpowered players that have all the great loot that have been playing the season to continually curb stomp new players. So the new season comes out, there's a loot reset, everyone's, lose everything, and you start from scratch. What's the incentive now? What do you get? Or is there going to be cosmetics? What those people who put in that work and now it's like, oh man, I got to lose. I get it from a balance and game design standpoint. I get it, but they have to figure that part out, because I'll be honest with you, Hawk, I don't know how you guys feel about it. I never talked about it. It's one of the things that kind of turns me off from Diablo sometimes.
With the reset?
The resets.
Yeah, like I'll make a character and I got my summoner and you get emotionally attached to the loot and then the new season comes out. I was like, and Diablo guys are used to it, like, hey, Cox, just make another character. I'm like, but I like my character.
I gotta tell you, in Diablo land, it really works for me. It
really
works to say I want to play this game again when the next season resets. So much so that when I get to like the end of a seasonal period, I'll wait another 2 weeks or whatever to start a new character when the season starts. Honestly, if I were in charge of Diablo, I'd probably take a little bit more away on the season reset. I like exploring the map again. I like finding the things and doing that kind of stuff. So I liked it when I went and played my first hardcore character, because it keeps a different map than your non-hardcore characters, and that was fun for me. But overall, I like that process, but I'm not extracting out loot in the same way as this kind of game. So I might feel differently in this context. That said, I could see a world in which you've got a leaderboard or something that you're trying to earn on a seasonal basis, and a seasonal reset does allow them to change core game mechanics like they do in Diablo on that reset point. So I like it as a concept. I am not that attached to any given character. My Diablo main screen is just a bunch of characters that are at whatever level they finish their season at. But I can understand why people might get concerned about that. I will say in the other breath, though, that the entire model of extraction shooter, and I'm not a Tarkov player, I've seen them operate on streaming. I've seen this one a little bit on streaming. I've seen Arc Raiders a little bit on streaming. The entire model of the extraction shooter doesn't make a ton of sense to me in terms of balance. Like, it does seem like the players that are putting in the time, that are getting that skill set, will separate from the newbies and the not so great players at an even higher level than any other kind of multiplayer game. So I'm not sure how this works in practice on anything approaching a casual level. So if Bungie aims at that, I'm not sure that this model of multiplayer can succeed at come on over, pop in a couple times, hang out with your robot friends, and do something else later. I think you almost have to, by design, invest your time and energy into a given version of an extraction shooter, if I understand the model correctly, and if there aren't other design kind of guardrails to fix that in the future. I like what you said about the black market. I imagine it as a store which sells you grays when you can get blues and purples out there on the field. But I'm just not sure this model can be sold at the same level as a Fortnite or a Battle Royale, where you're always jumping in naked and you're figuring out how to do it as you go.
Good point. Good point.
In terms of, I guess, COG, just one thing is that you're talking about like incentive to keep going with the seasons reset and stuff like that. I assume it's going to be all cosmetics, like you're kind of speculating. That's just, cosmetics is always the end game in every game. And if you have a cool skin or something like that for a character that you can only get for participating in a season, people are going to do it.
Yeah.
That's all you need.
It's got to be in place, though. They have to.
It's got to be. It can't be like coming next year or something like that. It's got to be ready to go.
We'll figure it out.
Yeah. That was Halo Infinite's problem. Halo Infinite was fantastic gameplay wise. Yeah, it was. But the actual pass and the actual what was to be acquired ran thin very quick, and they weren't prepared for the long haul, and then thus people fall out. And that's why, if they're not fully ready, push it back, please. That's just
I do think you get a certain level of trust for these companies and their live service initiatives, right? With Halo Infinite, they clearly weren't ready. They didn't have the backing to support that with the number of people and the amount of money that you'd need to keep that up. Similarly, for the games that I like that everybody else doesn't like, I have a certain amount of faith in companies like Ubisoft keeping Skull and Bones going. Like, I invested my time in that game, even though it was getting pilloried online and people were saying they didn't like it or it was mid or whatever, because I believed in Ubisoft just throwing money after their live service games because I had watched Rainbow Six Siege. I had watched For Honor. Like, for whatever reason, the Ubisoft institutional framework is to just put money into these things until they work. And does that mean Skull and Bones is ever going to work? I don't know. I still enjoy myself and I'm happy for that. But I don't know if it's ever going to be a reasonable success. I do know that I'm getting a year 2 right now, and I'm happy it exists. Okay. And so you do have companies that'll have different feelings for this. And yeah, there's reasons to say, can Bungie do this? I think so. Bungie, certainly before the PlayStation acquisition, put a lot of time and money and resources into making sure Destiny could survive. They found partners in Activision. They moved forward with a Destiny 2. I don't know what their situation is at PlayStation right now. Obviously, it's a little bit more attenuated than it would have been a couple of years ago. But that's where you have to look at this and say, yeah, you need to be ready at launch, but I also need to have faith that this is going to cost you something in the future, in time, in people, resources, everything else. And I need to believe that you're actually going to put those things into this project in order to invest in the first instance. So it's a bit of a chicken and egg.
Yeah.
Yeah. Just quick random thought, Hoeg. I've seen the back right of you. There's a black and red box, and I keep thinking an Atari Jaguar box.
Yes, I was thinking, I was thinking the same thing. It has like fonts just like the Atari Jaguar. Yep. I thought he had a custom Jaguar over there. I was like, okay.
Well, until I convinced Colin to start our board game book club show here on Last Stand Media. That is my season 1 and season 2 copies of the board game Final Girl, in which you get essentially a slasher movie that you put out on your table and you play a solo board game where you are one of the final girls that can survive being attacked by Freddy or Jason or whoever. Fully legally compliant. So, not Freddy or Jason, a guy named Hans in a pig mask, this kind of thing. But it's one of my favorite board games ever made. Those represent, I think, 12 different movies. And one of the coolest things about that particular game system is that you can take Hans from Camp Happy Trails and you can put him on the equivalent of Nostromo instead of fighting an alien over there. And you can combine all of your movie locations with all of your movie monsters and have a good time. And it's one of the very few solo board games that I've ever really enjoyed. So If you're at all interested in that, if you like video games, you're playing a lot of stuff solo as it is, check out Final Girl. I'm not paid by Van Ryder Games, but I probably should be at this point. I love it to death. Thank you for asking about that.
Yeah, I think you should buy an Atari Jaguar, though, also, Hoeg, and put it back there. Just for being Hoeg.
I think the Jaguar might be one of the few systems the younger Hoeg family did not have. We had a TurboGrafx.
Yeah.
We had a CDI. We had a 3DO. Nice. We did not have a Neo Geo. We did not have a Jaguar.
Okay.
Damn. Yeah, CDI, but not a Neo Geo.
We did have a CDI, yes. My dad was super excited about the World Golf Championship game that came out at launch with the CDI because it would be video of real golfers hitting real golf balls with like announcers that at that point had only been in things like Real Talk Baseball with like the very obvious coded voice. And this sounded like you were watching a golf broadcast. Nice. And my dad was super impressed by that. Very soon after his being impressed by that, we had a CDI in the house.
Wow. Love it.
Cool. Shout out to Dad. Yeah, shout out to dads. All right. Hoeg, let's stick with you, man. The 100-line Last Defense Academy.
Yep.
This is from the Danganronpa creator? Or creators?
It is from a new company that was started by the Danganronpa creator and the Zero Escape creator.
Okay.
And if you're not familiar with either of those games, they're both visual novels, in which case mostly you're in a group of disparate people in some kind of trapped location and you're figuring out puzzles and or dying one by one. And this game takes that concept and says, what if we also put a Fire Emblem game in that environment? So this is a visual novel first and foremost. If you're not interested in visual novels, you're not going to be interested in this. But if you are at all interested in essentially anime trope characters getting hurled into a high stress environment, having their different personalities bounce off each other. There's one character that essentially breaks the fourth wall about being in a video game all the time. There's one that is the guy with the bandages around his chest that is always getting into street fights, but has a deeper character than that. And they're always fighting over what it is that they're trying to deal with. But when their school is attacked by monsters, they have to go into what amounts to a strategic RPG, a Fire Emblem type game. And so you're building up these characters across a period of 100 days in a kind of persona type way, a lot of visual novelization, a lot of story beats, but also a lot of quote unquote free time spaces where you decide what room you're going to go to, what skills you're going to upgrade, what relationships you're going to increase the benefits of for purposes of your strategic role-playing experience. And it becomes this kind of very mind-twisty game that you're trying to figure out what's happening amongst all these characters while also trying to fight off monsters that are attacking your school that happens to be surrounded by flaming walls that can also form fists and take down aircraft that are trying to get to your school. So there's all sorts of stuff going on. This is one of my favorite visual novels in a long time, but visual novels of this stripe, Danganronpa, Zero Escape, 999, all these things, are a certain taste. I did like, in the last couple of days, the creator of Expedition 33, who was, I think, getting a little irritated that on social media, a lot of people were using Expedition 33 to take down other JRPGs, said, no, when you're done with your expedition, go check out 100 Line Academy. And 100 Line Academy's creators got back on social media and said, hey, if you're done with school, go check out Expedition 33. And I think that's fantastic. I love it when devs do that. But I do at least want to put a small timeout on, if you love Expedition 33, and everybody seems to, it will be a culture shock to go from Expedition 33 directly into maximal Japanese anime content on 100 Line Last Defense Academy. But if that at all appeals to you, I can't recommend it more. It reminds me of so many things that I really love. Fire Emblem's Three Houses, Danganronpa 999, of course, but also things like Rain Code, just lots and lots of game experiences that I've really loved. And what I'm told, because I haven't actually experienced this yet, but in reviews and previews and whatnot, is that you get to make choices as to the direction of your narrative, which is normal in a visual novel, but the game has 100 different endings. And unlike some visual novels that have those endings just be, well, I'm wearing green shoes instead of red shoes, that kind of thing, they're all supposed to be incredibly distinct and, in fact, have almost different genres of visual novel that they go into to get to their ending. So I'm very excited about experiencing that. This is an enormously dense visual novel, a lot of writing, a lot of reading. And so you can enjoy it if you like those kinds of things, but I want you to know what you're getting into going in. I love this thing. I love it to death, but it's not for everybody.
Yeah, I'm not a big visual novel person, so easy skip for me. But I respect them. Let me read this real quick from Bon Oakley. Hey, my future divorce lawyer. I love Danganronpa. However, I despise tactical games. Spending time chasing enemies around the map is obnoxious. Is the 100 Line worth trying for me? Thanks. I'll see you in 2 years during my midlife crisis.
Well, I could probably refer you to a good family lawyer in that particular case. You wouldn't want me defending you in court there. But here's what I will say that I was really surprised by, because a lot of these visual novels have some other component that they try to incorporate into their gameplay so that you're not just reading and making decisions. And so I was expecting this particular strategy role-playing game, which is like Fire Emblem, to maybe be not the best, to maybe be kind of a hollow or discount version of games that are focused specifically on that gameplay type. I was very surprised to find that even though it looks like Fire Emblem, it is quite flashy and pretty much at the top of the list of strategy role-playing games that I would otherwise play, outside of all the narrative and visual novel type stuff. What really makes this work is that, for the most part, you're defending your school. You're not going out into dungeons. You're not trying to go get bandits. You're not trying to get to a specific square on the map. You are defending a specific tower that these monsters are trying to get to. And there's a lot of what you might call fodder enemies that if you let them get past you, they can do real damage to your tower, but they're really easy to kill. And almost all of your characters at the 100 Line Academy or at the Last Defense Academy are characters that hit more than one block directly in front of them. So your main character hits like 6 blocks in front of them. And so you're trying to make geometric shapes. One of your characters will make a V. One of your characters will have like a 2-row T. And you're trying to figure out what is the most efficient way of having this particular fight with a whole lot of monsters, not just 1 or 2 on the board. And so it's a different kind of strategy than you might be used to in a more traditional strategy role-playing game. And I think it really works for the characters because you're really excited about building up their skills. And the actual model of this game is that you can use any character as many times as you want. They just essentially get slower in how much they can move. And so you've got a pool of action points that you can apply across characters. It reminds me a lot of some of the stuff you've seen from kind of the XCOM evolutions, where you're picking exactly how you're using a whole pool of action points. And so I think it's going to work for most people, even if you don't like traditional strategy role-playing games. If everything else sounds enticing to you, if it sounds interesting to you to have these characters bouncing off each other, to have one really invested in it wanting to be a killing game like Danganronpa, and where mysteries are happening virtually every day in the game narrative, I think you're going to be able to get around the actual strategy role-playing game pretty easily.
Okay. Let me read this. Oh, wait. Do you have something to say? Do one of you have something to say?
No, I was just saying nice.
All
Nice.
right, okay.
But Maddie waxes poetic about this game.
Oh, of
so
course,
I've been
Maddie
hearing a lot
does.
about
Yeah,
it.
this is Maddie bait, of course.
All day.
Definitely. This is from Adam Belgarby. Hey, Bubble Butt Brad, Big Dick Rick, and Lord Throbnito. Damn.
Hey, yo.
This one is for our one and only Hoeg. How do you feel about the Writing 100 line Last Defense Academy? I was surprised to see them use terms like cancel and simp. Also, many of the characters are extremely egregious or exaggerations of classic tropes. And one even constantly reaffirms the 100 line isn't a killing game in reference to Danganronpa. I'm personally all in for this kind of meta fourth wall breaking. Have a good day, gents.
Yeah, that's Darumi. Long live Darumi. We love Darumi in Hoeg House. She is constantly referring to various aspects of the narrative as if she were in Danganronpa. And I like that as a joke amongst the creators. I can see that could rub some people the wrong way. I really like the writing in this game. If anything, if I had a criticism, it's maybe a little overwritten. I think you've seen this in visual novels where you get into a conversation where they spin around a particular topic 3 or 4 times when maybe once or twice would have worked.
Yeah.
They do that here. So the script is maybe a little overlong, but the actual translation, what's getting communicated to you, I don't have a problem with at all. And yes, they do use simp, they do use cancel, they do use a fair amount of sexual innuendo, which is always fun to be playing with your daughters. But it's all okay. It's all okay.
Yeah.
I really, really like the game. I like the narrative. I like the story. I like the writing overall.
What would you say kind of is like the pacing between combat and just the visual novel aspect? Like, are you going multiple hours without a battle, or is it usually like, hey, here's 20 minutes of conversation, then a battle, stuff like that?
I would say that I think most people are going to find that the narrative reading time periods are longer than they would expect or would like between the battles. When you have free time, as only some days have in the middle of this narrative, you can choose as one of your options to go into the virtual reality battle simulator, because you're going to want to get battle points for some of your upgrades anyway. And so you're going to be choosing to do certain battles in between all of this, like you might in a Final Fantasy Tactics, where you're saying, I got to grind up some stuff. But if you didn't do that, if you just said, all right, I'm going to use my free time to only use these rooms over here or only talk to these people to get these specific upgrades, then you can get really long periods of time between given battles. And because the way the narrative is set up, the school invaders, which is all we know them as, I don't think that's the full story there, but that's what we call them at this point in the story. The school invaders show up when they feel like it. It's not like every day. It's not every evening or anything like that. So you might have a fight on day 3, and then you go through all these story beats, and you're at day 9 or something and saying, I'm not sure if they're ever going to attack again. And then you find yourself in 2 or 3 battles in a row on night 11 or something along those lines. Those are all pulled out of thin air. People in the comments who are going to tell me that all those dates are wrong for when invaders attack, I understand. I'm just trying to communicate that there are periods of time where you're reading a lot, you're going through a lot of story beats, and you have no idea whether you're ever going to have a strategic battle ever again. So that does happen. And I do think that is a little bit off-putting. The other thing I would add that is maybe a little bit off-putting is in the prologue to the game, before anything really hits the fan, you do see how the choice system works. They have a really cute choice where you can essentially elect not to play the game. And the main character looks at the screen and says, okay, well, you don't have to have this fight, but don't put any bad reviews telling folks how short the game is. And then gives you a game over. And I really like that. But it shows you how that works. We know from reviews and previews that there's a bunch of choices that lead to all these different endings. I think, almost 40 days in, and the main conceit of the game is that you have to spend 100 days at the academy. I'm almost 40 days in, haven't had a choice yet. Fought strategic battles, picked what to do with my free time, had conversations with people, haven't had one of those screens that says go left or right and pick a different branch. So it takes a long time before it's going to introduce that mechanic. And my girls who play this game with me keep counting the days and saying, we're going to have a choice any day now. That sounds like it might be a choice. I'm like, well, hold on. They're probably going to narrate this in one specific way. But that first day when we get a choice, we'll be very excited in Hoeg House.
Yeah. I just have one more final question. So you spend time with individuals, you get to choose who you want to spend time with.
Yeah.
What's the benefit of picking someone? Do they get like a new combat skill or something?
So you've got an overall system where you can improve and or add specific skills to any given character at the academy. Unlike a Fire Emblem, for reasons that are in the narrative, they can't die. So you're always going to have everybody that you need to have the story keep going. But in order to upgrade your skills across your entire team, you have to have certain grades at the school. And so there are different components of a grade like athletics or a grade like mathematics. And any given person that you might talk to can maybe improve a couple of points in that particular grade that can lead to what you can use as a resource to increase your skills. So when you get free time on a given day, you might say, okay, I can go to the cafeteria and talk with Darumi, or I can go to the garage and talk with Tsubasa. And there'll be icons on your minimap to show what they would improve. You'll learn this as you play anyway. But you can say, all right, let's go check out the training room. What am I aimed at? What do I want to improve? Oh, I need to increase my gym score. I'm going to go talk to this person over here in this hallway. The map always shows where everybody is at. You talk to them. Maybe you get that grade increased. You go improve that skill. The invaders attack. You have that fight.
Gotcha. Okay. Is this a full price game, Hoeg, or is it like 50 or 60?
That's a good question. I consider it full price in my head. I don't think it was a 70. I think it was a 60.
Okay.
It's still full price.
Well, it's on Switch and PC only, right?
Yes, and I think they've actually said, so this is one of the parts of this story that I really love is entrepreneurship. These guys went and created their own company and basically mortgaged their houses and put all their resources into this. Wow. And folks that know me know that this is why I do what I do, is for these small companies and the dreamers that go and try to make this stuff happen, put this stuff into our lives. And I love that to death. But one thing that leads to is having to be very cautious about what you do with your resources. And so they've actually said, look, if this sells like gangbusters, we might be able to port it to some other places. But right this second, it's Switch only in console land. And it's a great Switch game. It works great for Switch. Yeah. Most visual novels do. Looks fantastic on the OLED. But I would not anticipate it coming to another console anytime soon, if ever. So right now it's Switch only.
So don't wait. If you're waiting for like a PS5 or Xbox port, I guess, just get in if you're interested.
Well, one other thing I would add there is that they have a free demo. It's one of the demos that starts at the beginning and progress carries over. So if you're at all worried about, hey, I don't know if that's going to really work for me, I don't know how I feel about visual novels, that writing might be too much, check out that demo. We never got to the end of it. I had that demo for 2 weeks before the game released. It is so long that when the game released, I just moved my save over. I have no idea where that demo ends. It's not anytime soon. So you can go get half a dozen hours or more out of that demo. And if you like it, you can buy the game.
Cool. Very nice. Yeah. Just quickly, Cog, I gotta know, are you interested in these kind of games at all?
I actually do like visual novels. I remember though, Maddie was really trying to peddle Danganronpa on me because I think what happened was I saw the Nintendo Direct and I was like, wait, I think Ace Attorney came up and I'm like, man, that looked cool. I've never played one. And he was like, stop that right there. I cannot in good faith let you play the inferior, version of this genre. And I'm like, really? He went off on me. I was like, oh, really? So he's like, you need to play the creme de la creme, the Danganronpa. So I was like, all right. And we put pressure on me for weeks. The Dukes were on me for weeks. They were writing in, when is Cog going to play it? When is Cog? So I finally played it. I gave it a review. There's some aspects I did like. Something I felt were a little bit over the top and nonsensical with stuff that, like, kind of similar to what Hoeg was describing, which is like people trapped in this ridiculous situation and, just over the top tropes and stuff like that. But I will admit, the mysteries were really cool. And I
think they're really good at writing those mysteries. I love Rain Code, which is from the Danganronpa creator, as a noir mystery game that you can also play on your Switch. That does a lot of weird stuff with convincing people of things. Danganronpa, for me personally, was like one notch weirder than I like. Damn. I think that 100 Line comes back that one notch.
There we go.
You still have a mascot that's crazy, that's leading things. You still have that kind of energy in the game, but I think it's a little less weird than Danganronpa. And I do enjoy the Danganronpa games, but I did not like them as much as Zero Escape. I think that the Zero Escape creator also being involved in this particular project helps get it to a place where I'm happier with the overall tone.
No, shout out to them, man. Like I said, so that's pretty much my experience with it. And I was like, I get the loop. I see why people are addicted to it, kind of thing. But I'm kind of with Hoeg. I was like, all right, this bear is a little too much for me. You know what I'm saying? I can't do it. So I need something. I was like, I need something a little bit more grounded, what I'm saying, for me. So maybe that other one, that you described, it might be a little bit more in the wheelhouse.
I love Zero Escape. 999 is one of my favorites and really probably my first real full-length visual novel that I played.
Yeah. I wonder if Mike is going to play this. This sounds right up her alley. Yes. She loves visual novels and tactic games. So I'm curious. I'll have to find out from her. Cool. All right. Very nice, Hoeg. All right, boys. Time for Sort It Out. This segment, we just talk about something in the game industry we're not too pleased with. Something needs sorting. Hoeg, let's start with you. What do you think needs sorting?
I would like to tell us Sort It Out to the console warriors out there. This last week had an announcement that rubbed a lot of people the wrong way with the increasing prices at Microsoft. I don't blame anybody for being upset about more money being taken out of their wallet to buy these things to otherwise invest in our wonderful hobby here. I don't blame anyone at all. Where I get upset, where I tell people to sort it out, is that it's not Microsoft acting alone. It wasn't PlayStation acting alone when they did the PlayStation 5 Pro price. It wasn't Nintendo acting alone when they did the Switch 2 launch prices. This is all happening at once. There's a lot of reasons. There's a lot of blame to go around for this, whether it's economics or politics or anything else you want to talk about. But the reason that you see all these things happening is not just because Microsoft is evil or Nintendo is evil or Sony is evil. And it's certainly not the opposite, that whoever you don't like is good. It's important to look at everything holistically. And unfortunately, I think a lot of people that are fans of the stuff that we talk about here get a little bit too invested in the particular brand of plastic box that they play their games on.
You don't say.
So I would love to tell those folks to sort it out, because we're going to see more price increases. So at bare minimum, you want to sort it out so you don't look like a hypocrite and you don't look like you don't understand what's going on when you get all up in arms about Nintendo prices and then Xbox increases their prices, and then you get up in arms about those, and then Sony's next. So that's what I would like to have sorted out right now. I know that is old man shouts at cloud. This can't possibly happen. Rub your genie lamp. Try to figure out how to fix this. But that's the thing I see the most often on social media and my comments or otherwise, that I would sort it out if I could. Yeah.
All right. Cog, what about you?
Hoeg damn stole what I was going with. A variant of it, it's definitely, obviously all the news that's been going on, with tariffs and console pricing and stuff like that. And I guess my sort of that was kind of like, it was more generational, like, me as a Gen Xer we have to sort it out. And basically what I'm trying to say is like, we feel the universe revolves around us, but the data says otherwise as far as where games are going and stuff like that. And these are conversations I've had kind of with Maddie as well, but this is more of an internal look at my generation. Like, I do feel like, man, we're losing. So this actually sorted out for my generation. Like, look, times are changing, and this is a whole new Marvel cinematic timeline that we're not used to. You know, we're not used to the games costing all this, and feeling like it's almost like a luxury thing. And I guess the fear hold for us is just like, man, this thing's gonna die out because these damn Gen Alphas ain't doing what they're supposed to do. so it's like that's what's happening. I'm finding myself be the old man that I would make fun of.
Yes,
when I was younger, and
it's
I'm
funny
like,
how it comes up so fast, doesn't it,
bro? It's cyclical, right? It's cyclical, and I'm like, damn, I can't believe it. So I said, you know what? I got to stop. I have to sort this out and say, look, I'm still getting my games. I consume them how I choose to consume them. Obviously, you have to make business decisions, stuff like that. Obviously, corporations are going to cooperate, but at the same time, it's just times are changing, and it's a wild timeline. So yeah, I'm just trying to be better about it. Gen X, let's be better about it. Let's do what we got to do. Let's get too crazy and attacking people. Let's have some nuance with the conversation. So that's the sort of.
I got to respect any sorted out that includes you in the group.
Yeah, that's true.
I'm going through it, man. You know what it is, Hope? I'm actually better. I'm exaggerating. I'm actually doing good. The thing is that because I'm laughing at other Gen X, this is evil, but I'm laughing at other Gen X's because I'm like, I'm a Sega kid. This ain't my first rodeo. I know what it is for something to go away. I was like, so my advice to people was like, hey, be lucky that you still exist and you're just metamorphosizing in a different way. And I understand people are used to the old way of console war, and I get it. That's what we come from. Genesis does it. I get it. But this is the new normal now. And if you do not accept it, you're just going to be getting upset for no reason, just all the time. So it's just one of those things. We got to do better.
I'm going to take the exact opposite approach to you guys and say, fuck them kids. Get your shit together.
Sort it out, kids.
Sort it out, Alpha.
Wrong, you're dumb.
I know. Better parenting.
Yeah. I'm just kidding. I guess mine is kind of in line with you guys. It's weird because it is. I'm going to give a sort out to Xbox because for like $80 games are coming. They haven't shown me a game yet, and no one has really yet, where I'm like, $80 sounds fine for that game. Maybe Elder Scrolls 6 if it's good when it comes out, but it's like Call of Duty, $80. I mean, that's going to be $80. Let's be real. Call of Duty is going to be $80. It's a prime candidate. That's the best game to get away with it because people already spent a fuck ton of money on those games already. But I don't know, man. It's like nothing's really like $80 worthy. And then like putting out like Hellblade, like South of Midnight. I'm like, all right.
Better not be.
Those better not be $80. I don't know about that. Like Avowed $80. It's like that kind of quality. It's like, I don't know about that yet, guys. And I'm 100% with you guys. Sony's going to absolutely follow suit. 100%. There's no way they're not going to do it. So it's going to happen. But
honestly,
just for right now,
there's no reason not to, right?
Yeah, exactly. There's no reason not to yet. We know Ghost of Yotei and Death Stranding aren't because you can already pre-order them. But Intergalactic, I wouldn't be surprised at $80 right away. So get ready, everybody. Buckle up.
Buckle up.
Things are getting steep. Hey, at least
the game pricing part is interesting because it's not impacted, at least right now, this moment as we talk, by tariffs or those government policies we were talking about. But Xbox, because they sell a subscription service, has every incentive in the world to say the things that are in that subscription service are more expensive than you thought they were, because that makes our subscription service look better. And you can say that's unfair. You could say, hey, Rick, that's not pro-consumer. Honestly, their job is not to be pro-consumer, except to the extent that they can make you feel good things about their brand. So maybe they cross the line here and you no longer feel good things about their brand. That's up to you and them. But overall, an $80 game, you might have heard Cog say earlier in this video, makes that Game Pass look a little bit more valuable. Because I don't have to spend the $80 to play Doom or to play whatever the next South of Midnight is or whatever's coming next year. And so that makes all the sense in the world from a business standpoint. I'm actually surprised that they didn't do it earlier when Game Pass was really taking off. But the other aspect of that is the one thing you didn't see increased on this list of Xbox increases that I would almost guarantee you'll see very soon is a Game Pass monthly subscription fee increase.
Yeah, 100% that's coming. I think that's coming this year.
Yeah,
I'm going to
I would
do it by Call of
anticipate
Duty time.
I anticipate they're going to do the same thing they did with the last increase, which is relatively small incrementally, virtually no difference to you on a month-to-month basis. Of course, when you do that 2 or 3 or 4 times, it really adds up, as we've seen with the subscription services for passive entertainment, Disney Plus and Netflix and whatnot. But that's what I would expect from them. You don't have to like it. I don't like it either. On the other hand, as much as we might shout at the kids or otherwise, I'm going to agree with Cog on this point, which is to say, I am constantly surprised by how much high quality, high resource, really good game experiences you can currently get free to play, right? Like we live in an environment now in 2025 that would have blown our minds when we were kids, because you can dive into almost any type of game that you want in a free to play environment and have a great experience without spending a dime. Yes, you can have a better experience maybe by spending a few dimes here or there, but you can actually play these games without that entry payment. And that's wild to me. I would have loved that so much when I was a teenager and younger.
Yeah. I can't believe I forgot to bring this up, but this is like more damning to me than $80 games right now is the price of the consoles going up for Xbox. Ooh. Series S is going to be $379 now. The Series S, you can get a digital PS5 with Astrobot for $400. That's a tough sell. Now you can. Yes. Like right now you can buy that. And like the Series X is going to $600, dude. $599 is back, baby. I know the Pro is $700, but it's just like, damn, dude. Yeah, when your hardware is already struggling so badly, it's like,
well, this is when it helps.
It feels like game over right there. That feels like
this is when it helps if your business model doesn't care how many boxes you move.
That's true. Yeah, I suppose.
And I do think one of the really interesting things about the Xbox announcement was how many people went on social media and showed that they were buying a PlayStation 5 or a PlayStation 5 Pro at that moment in time, because it does feel, and I think this is right from everybody feeling it, that the writing's on the wall. Sony is just going to go second, but they're going to go.
Yeah,
so if you have an interest in one of these products, now is probably the time.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, if you're kind of on the fence, might be a good time to buy it, because things are just getting more expensive. So
these are not small increases on the hardware level.
No.
That 2 teras was more than a PS5 Pro.
Yeah.
Like, yo, that's crazy. Insane jumps for sure.
Yeah. I miss when game consoles got cheaper over time.
Remember that? Remember when
they're getting
components would get more efficient and things would get streamlined? You get the slim version.
Yeah.
Wow. What a time.
Yeah. Man, I remember seeing like Dreamcasts at the end for like $50. So man, it's like, fuck. I wish I bought one. I didn't buy one, but it's like, damn.
Bro, we're in an era with multiple price increases. Like that's a wild timeline. Man.
It is. Okay, this is from Mark Ham. Howdy. I have a sorted out for Bungie. Limited access to players, lack of features, and a game like Arc Raiders comes out of nowhere and does it all better. Marathon needs to be delayed out of 2025. Yeah, we all kind of were echoing that statement, so we'll see. All right. This is from Yoda's Slimy Mudhole. Ooh, sorted out Sony. I bought my wife a PS5 controller 2 years ago, and she's not a huge gamer, so she's hardly used it. Now it has stick drift, and guess what? The PS5 still doesn't have a universal option to adjust the dead zones, making the controller worthless for most titles. Also, mine are sorted out to all console manufacturers using the same shitty sticks. Yeah, man, stick drift is horrible.
Yeah, it's
absolute nightmare. I hate it. It's so bad, dude.
Oh, yeah.
I agree. My one hope for the Switch 2 is that it at least holds a little bit better than the Switch 1.
Yeah, I certainly hope so.
Yes.
I think Nintendo did tell us they don't have the magnets. They're not using the magnet technology, right? So we can only hope.
We can hope.
Yeah, I'm not sure. But yeah, God, I hope. Especially with how expensive controllers are now, too.
Oh, yeah.
Like the Joy-Cons for Switch 2 are $90.
$90.
If you buy 2 Joy-Cons, it's like insane.
Honestly, I mostly play on a Pro controller. I love the Pro
me too.
controller.
Oh, me too. Yeah, I picked up the Pro.
This is from the Pale Midget from the new Mad Max movie. Hey guys, I want to give a sorted out to people using the Xbox price increase as a way to console war. Hey, this sounds like Hoeg.
Hey.
I don't know if they just don't understand or they do and don't care, but this entire thing is way bigger than us. Things are going to get worse before they get better. and it really irks me to see what people are getting out of this increase or out of the increases. Thanks, guys. Love the show.
I agree with that. That's one of the things I was responding to is that people are using anything to attack each other for, in my opinion, silly reasons on the console war side.
Well, it's console wars never change, but now it's publisher wars I've been seeing. That's the new hot ticket, I guess.
It's a new thing.
Okay, this is from Big Dumb Stupid Idiot. Howdy, gawk soul suckers. Ugh. Keep it up, Xbox executives. Impeccable business acumen. So this is very sarcastic. Keep it up. So I threw it in here. Struggling hardware sales, blow the console's fucking brains out with a massive price hike, stagnant Game Pass growth, full refunds for canceling in the first month, got some banger games in the pipeline, dropped them in the same week to cannibalize sales and MAUs. I'm sure glad Xbox decision makers spent the entire generation whittling a cuck chair to watch PlayStation and Nintendo hate fuck. Good lord. Have a calling, dodging, and parrying QTEs Sekiro-like gameplay specifically so Colin gets the ick kind of day.
I feel like I've learned new terminology on this particular
good lord.
Got feelings.
Yeah, it's got feelings. Yeah, people got some takes. It's pretty funny. All right. I honestly, I still can't believe that you can get full refunds from Game Pass. I've done it the last 2 times, man.
Oh, really? Oh,
yeah.
Still in effect? How recent?
I just did it with South of Midnight like a couple weeks ago.
Picked it up and then boom, refund.
It took me like a week and a half to beat the game. Yeah, full refund. Wow. I was like, okay. And I was like, all right, thanks, Phil, I guess. And I was on PC, and it's just like, dude.
Wow.
I was willing to give you $12, but you want to give me my money back? Sure, dude.
Wow. Okay.
Who am I to say no?
Yeah, who am I? Yeah, sure, Phil.
I can't knock the hustle.
I'll take those small wins from a publisher and developer, console manufacturer, because we are not going to get them as much.
Yeah.
Raise those prices, baby. All right, boys, the exact opposite. Keep it up. Stuff we're pleased with in gaming. Hoeg, let's start with you again.
Yeah, no, my keep it up is Dreamers. We talked about it a little bit earlier in this video, but a BBC interview came out about the creative director of Expedition 33 at Sandfall.
Damn it, Hoeg took my other one too.
I'm sorry, Cog. Do you want me to stop?
Mine too. Sorry.
Well, it came out, and he said essentially he was bored working at Ubisoft, and he put together his crack crew of Sandfall people from Reddit and SoundCloud and other places on the internet. And I have so much respect for people that take this leap. It is so hard to do. I think people that are adults especially understand that you get into a place in life where you're relatively comfortable. You might be bored. You might not be fully content with whatever you're doing, but you get relatively comfortable. You don't want to rock the ship too much. And it is so rare for people like this to go and say, no, I can do better. And how are you going to do better? I have no experience in putting a team together. I'm going to go on Reddit. I'm going to go figure out who these people can be. I'm going to vet them personally. And you get a soundtrack like Expedition 33. You get a game like Expedition 33. And these people are the people that are busy making our lives better, not just in video games, not just in media or entertainment, in technology, and a whole bunch of other things that I often am lucky enough to get help putting their companies together, getting them funded, that kind of thing. I love this stuff. I love people like this going out there and doing this. In the same way, I love the fact that the creators of Danganronpa and 999 and Zero Escape went out and made their own company, put it all on the line to make a game for me like the 100 line. And then that these two folks found themselves on social media telling people to play each other's games. I love this stuff. Keep it up, all of you. Keep it up, those of you that are currently in that spot before you take the leap and are going to go be that dreamer to make the next Expedition 33 or 100 line or anything in between. So know that we are aware of you. If you're in the mines, whether it's at an accounting firm or Ubisoft or anywhere else, and I believe that you can make the world a better place. You can add to its awesomeness, just like these other people have done with Expedition 33, 100 line. And in our history, I want to say, keep it up to the dreamers. I love you to death. This is a really hard thing to do. I'm a lawyer. I'm naturally risk averse. And so even though on the lawyer scale, I'm the one that left his law firm job to go make his own firm, and so I'm technically on the more entrepreneurial side of lawyering, it gives me heart palpitations to even describe the things that you guys have done to put these game companies out there and to make these games for me. So Thank you. Keep it up.
Yeah, great one. All right, Cog. What about you, man? Kind of echo
literally
that.
the same
Yeah.
thing. It was just to add on to Hoag's fantastic comments. Yeah, same thing. I was just looking at Samfall as as an example, almost like a master class in game development, and as far as resource management in an industry that is very gluttonous and not resourceful. So it's just a team of 30 people put together a game that literally rivals a lot of the top AAA products on the market, and really has brought life into the JRPG space. And we'll get into it when we discuss Expedition further. But it's really amazing. Then to hear the story of how they put the team together, and I can't rave enough. As you guys know, I am huge on game music. That is one thing I really champion. And I got to be honest. It's one of those things when I was listening. I forgot the gentleman's name, Lorian, and from
I want to say
Testard. Yeah. Oh my God. I'm like, they found this guy? Like what? This guy was just sitting on SoundCloud. And then I would love to hear how that conversation went. It's just like, yeah, I'll contribute. And the amazing vocals and stuff like this is like orchestral, amazing stuff. It just adds to the flavor. And I'm just so happy for them, because at the same time, there was also an article about, people were worried for them at one point, obviously with the Oblivion Shadow Drop and stuff like that. And to see them, like Hoag said, champion in other games. I think they had the picture with the Oblivion Gate, with the whole, Expedition 33, and both of them sharing amazing success. I believe Steam counts right now was like both at 130,000 plus concurrent users on Steam currently right now, and Oblivion. So both of them didn't hurt each other. And then they actually, made comments about how, actually doing the deal with Game Pass Xbox helped them, because he said, look, I was able to get on the Xbox showcase and have our visibility next to a Gears, next to and I remember I was at that showcase in LA, and I remember, I think it was King or whoever was sitting next to me, and I was like, what game is that? And I was like, that looks amazing. And at first I just thought it was a typical over-the-shoulder, third-person action game. And then when I saw the prompts and it said turn, I said, oh, heart, don't fail me now. Someone's taking it back to our classics. You could tell the passion of this team. So keep it up, Samfall Interactive, man. This is just an amazing story. They need to be studied. This is and I don't say an indictment on the games industry, but people need to really see how they were able to pull this off, so that others can kind of follow suit with some of the things and the techniques that they use. Because I'm pretty blown away how this game came together.
Yeah.
I agree 100%. Mine is kind of echoing what you guys said, but I'm going to make it a little more broad, is keep it up to Japanese style role-playing games and Japanese role-playing games in general. They've had a big comeuppance. If you guys were around in the PS3 era, there were some good ones in there, but it was a dark time for a lot of Japanese role-playing games. Don't get me wrong, there's some good ones in there, but it was pretty rough compared to the generations that came before, especially like the PS1 era, where it just seemed like there's a million great games like in that genre on there. But now we're kind of coming back full swing. I really like where Square's at with Final Fantasy right now. I loved Rebirth. I love 16. I love what they're doing. I loved what Atlas is doing right now. They're killing it as well. Expedition 33 is really great. So I'm happy for these kind of games because I love them. So I'm happy to see them thriving and getting so much positive attention. Because I remember, dude, the game industry used to clown on these games a lot. Japanese role-playing games and stuff like that. They would clown on them a lot. But who's laughing now?
Payback, baby.
Yeah, payback. All right. Let's see here. This is from Hood. Keep it up. Studios taking inspiration in other people's works and merging it so well with their own. Expedition 33 takes Sekiro pairing to make the turn-based combat so dynamic and fun that 40 hours in, I'm not bored of it and it's still locked in for most fights. There are obvious other inspirations, but in my opinion, this was the one that made the most difference. And the Nier Automata inspired soundtrack as well. Killer.
I like that anytime there's just kind of melodic, nice music, it's right to Nier Automata.
I know, it's Nier, yeah. Yeah. This is from Anton K. Brad, can you give us the backstory on landing Ben's star in the episode? It was fantastic. I would love to hear how it came to be. Keep it up. Sure, yeah, I could share. I met Ben when I was at Easy Allies around before Final Fantasy 16 came out, and I was just chatting with him, and we got along really well. I remember talking with him and being like, "Oh, this guy really knows games." like really knows games. So me and him just kind of hit it off. We've kept in touch over the years.
Nice.
And I asked him if he wanted to be on the show. And he
Oh,
said,
that's
yeah.
awesome. That's awesome. Trust me, I saw it. I was like, I'm so tempted. I like when you guys put it out, I just like started like act one, and I'm like, I don't want to know anything. So I said, I want to watch it after, because I was like, I see there's some advanced conversation that may happen, and I was just like, I didn't want to spoil anything. But bro, congratulations on that's a huge get.
Yeah.
Huge get. I'm dying to listen to that as soon as I'm finished with my situation with Expedition.
It's funny. I said to my wife, it's like, I think I might, if I were invited to that show, I think I might fanboy a little higher than I might be comfortable with for Clive.
Woo!
So originally I saw that announcement. I was like, oh, I'm a little jealous. And then I was like, no, it's probably better that people don't see me that way. So I think it's great that you got him. I think it's fantastic that he's a part of the show. I love Clive. I love Final Fantasy 16. I am glad that I was not exposed entirely in that way, except narratively here.
Yeah. I mean, I wish I could add everyone on with Ben, but we can only have so many people. Maybe if we get him in the future, we can get other people on there. But yeah, he's a super nice guy. So I was very happy that he was willing to be on the show.
Awesome.
All right. This is from Brian Borlaug. Hey, all. I got to keep it up to Kelper Interactive. Not only did you produce one of the best games of the year and maybe one of generations of the RPGs in Clair Obscur Expedition 33, they also recently released Bionic Bay on PC and PSN. This game is an immaculate pixel side-scrolling puzzle platformer with heavy physics mechanics. It's very much in the company of Limbo and Inside. I feel it deserves more love, but Kelper's ability to find and produce amazing games does give me hope for the publisher's future, so shout out. Yes, I've heard about this game. I have not played it personally, but I have heard it's very good. And I'll try to get to it by the end of the year. Because there's always those clear GOTY standouts that I always want to give a shot by the end of the year. That's why I love when we do our Game of the Year kind of videos near the end. Well, I guess we do it at the end of December, but that's probably later than most people, I would say. I see people doing like Game of the Year stuff in like November. It's like, all right, relax, guys.
It's certainly later than Jeff, right? He finalizes his nominations early in November.
Oh, wow. This Bionic Bay, this looks like a card game. All right. Little Limbo, little Inside vibes, atmospheric. Okay. Oh, yeah. This is a cog sale game. I'm glad you put me on. I didn't know about that.
Nice.
There you go. Yeah.
Love it.
All right, dudes. Yeah. Oh, yeah, go ahead.
No, I think Kepler deserves credit. I think one of the things that's really interesting about having a success like Expedition 33 is it will have that goodwill kind of attached to everything associated with it. So the next time I see the Kepler logo, I might not even remember why, depending on when their next game is that interests me, but I will think, oh yeah, that's a seal of quality of some kind. And so they did a really good job of saying, we're going to fund this team that's never made a game before, that's finding all of their talent on Reddit and SoundCloud. And I respect them almost as much as the people that actually made the game, because it's hard to put your money behind that kind of stuff as well. Because for every Expedition 33, there's probably 9 or 10 that are not that you tried to maybe fund, you tried to maybe encourage, and did not release something like this.
Yeah, very true.
Okay, boys, let's talk Clair Obscur Expedition 33. We talked about some of this last week with Ben, but now we got 2 other dudes on, and I'm further in the game now, so I'm very curious to hear everyone's thoughts. I know Hoeg has a lot to say. Hoeg has actually finished the game already, you maniac.
Savage.
Let's start with Cog.
Yeah, I'm sorry you cut out just a little bit. Yeah, look, man, Expedition, this was the one I had my eye on for the longest. Super excited to finally get my hands on it. So last week I finally got a chance to really, make a little bit of a dent. So I'm at the end of Act 2.
Yeah, that's exactly where I'm at. Yeah.
So me and you are in the same spot.
Pretty much, yeah.
Yeah, I'll just start off with my initial impressions of the game, which is kind of like, first of all, the game, this is a French game.
Yeah,
it sure is. This is I've never been to France. I don't know what it's like, but man, I feel like I've been there. And just culture, architecture, the language, the acting, it is really top notch, and it gives me a feel like one thing about me with games. Like I love when people are from like regions that I don't see a lot of in video games, or like, just in general from developers, like whether it be Polish developers or whoever, Italian developers. Like you get to see the cultural flavor and the differences, and I really feel it screams out in a good way in Expedition 33. So first thing I'll say off the top, man, this is a very rough world these people are living in. Man, oh man, I'm like, man, I'm learning about the grammage, and just from the way the game starts, it is just the music is so somber and everything is so foreboding, and the things that these people are living through. Like this is really awful stuff, and obviously what was been revealed about the Patriots already, and everything that these guys. So basically, you theoretically Thanos snapped once you get to a certain year in your life, and this thing keeps decreasing. And obviously, there's the expeditions that are trying to stop this horrible thing from kind of happening. And you start off, and I will just say off the top, I love the actual art style of comics. Now, my nitpicks are a little bit. I can tell in the faces or a little double A energy on like the faces. Yeah. I'm playing on console and I see like the hair textures a little bit okay, but everything else, the skyboxes are beautiful. The music is outstanding. Everything else, it just looks really good. And as a person who loves turn-based combat, man, this is really a step forward, in my opinion, as far as combat and turn-based mechanics. Because I got to be honest, as much as I go extra hard for turn-based, and I, as Hoeg knows, consider myself Lord turn-based. One thing that I felt that the genre did need to improve, or at least innovate in a space, is that, that we love our strategic planning, right? We love, things with, weaknesses and putting things together, combinations and builds, stuff like that. That's always been there. But I think what sets Expedition apart is the agency, because now every single fight you have to think about. Enemies hit hard. And that's where also on the defensive side, there's not a relaxing, so to speak. Now with the parry mechanic introduced, and now also the dodging mechanic, which I had to use more often than not, because my timing of the parries was very tough at first, and I had to get used to that window. But yeah, these bosses, these enemies, they will punish you, they will hit you, they will change up timings, they will fake, they will do all these different things to throw you off. So like I said, the narrative is dark, it's real cool. I almost feel like it's Final Fantasy remake / Dark Souls / Lost Odyssey had like a love child, and this is where we are with Expedition 33. But yeah, man, I'm really enjoying it. I think for me, where it really scratches the itch is that one thing about me, especially at games like Destiny, if you have build crafting in your game, I am a huge fan. Mm-hmm. And I feel with the Picto system and the passives, all of this kind of triggers all of my synapses. I'm like, okay, cool. I'm going to put that Picto here, and I'm going to give myself extra AP every time I do a counter. And I'll make like a counter build, or, get a build where it's like healing and stuff like that. And I love the fact that the skill trees didn't play on this. And you can now, okay, if I do fire, I get health. And then this person does this. And they keep introducing new mechanics. I think the game does a very good job of saying, okay, not only do we have these mechanics, that every individual character has their own set of powers and abilities. It's just really cool. Like what I really love is Mael, because as a person who loves fighting games, okay, if I start with defensive stance and I switch into virtual stance, I can do double damage, and it's a dance, it's a flow, and I really, really love the game. And I'm forgetting the free aim part, where it's like, okay, I can shoot weaknesses with my gun from afar and do damage with the active points and stuff like that. So, look, having an absolute ball with the game. Act 1, oh boy, oh wow, without spoiling, yeah, that was an interesting conclusion to Act 1 that left me, okay, this is what we're doing, Expedition. Mm-hmm. Wow, So look, I'm loving it so far. Act 2, where I am now, it just concluded. Major things happened. I'm processing. I'm trying to figure out, where this is going. I think I have an idea, but it definitely has thrown me for a loop. And I just got to see if they land the plane, so to speak. I know Hoeg has ended it and stuff like that. But and last thing, this music, man. Again, I cannot give praise enough. In a year where, I'll be honest, I thought South of Midnight just had this on lock. I feel South of Midnight's music is just original and it's very bespoke to the stages and the pain that people are going through. But then you throw this score, and bro, they have a song with literally the title of the name. It's in the song. Like, he's literally saying, the Clair Obscur. I'm like, bro, what is it? Clair Obscur.
Yeah.
Like, bro, it is.
Yeah,
bro, what is happening? What is like? It should not be this amazing. Is how I'm feeling. So we'll see, man. And only like other little nitpick on Xbox. If you're playing with OLED, there's some issue with the blacks. The blacks are way too black. I'm a person that really very particular with my HDR settings, make sure things are calibrated correctly. So I know it's not me. But for example, when you're in the manor or like certain caves and stuff like that, I was like, bro, I cannot literally see my character. Like, what's going on?
Really?
Yeah, it's specific to Xbox, I believe, and people with OLED TVs. So what I had to do is, go into the contrast settings in the game, up that. Bro, I was fighting boss. I'm like, bro, I cannot see. You know that lamp boss? Bro, I couldn't see anything. I'm just like winging it. I was like, oh no, I can't do this no more. But I got more to say. These are my, initial thoughts, but loving the game. Just want to see where it goes. And last other little nitpick though, I will say this. I don't know how you guys feel about this. As of now, I do feel the relationship system feels a little tacked on and not like a true, like I said, the personas and the ones that actually really invest. Not that it's terrible, but I feel like at the campfire, I shouldn't be able to just, move things forward with 4 or 5 people at once. And I just felt that was a little, I don't know, I just felt a little rushed that part. Not like it's horrible, but I've seen other games do it better. So look, I've rambled on enough. I'm curious to get, what your guys' thoughts on, because I got a lot of thoughts on this game.
Yeah.
Try not to spoil as much as possible.
Yeah, it is fun to dance around, isn't it?
Yeah, it's tough. Yeah. It's tough. It's very tough. But what you think, man?
I'll go after you. The most finish with Hoeg, because I know Hoeg.
Yeah,
probably the most to say. But
so tell me where you at.
I'm going to talk about party members in the game that are up to this point. So I don't know if there's more or anything like that, but I'm just going to let you guys know. This is like Act 2 party members and stuff like that when I'm going to talk about the game, because some of my complaints are the characters, I feel like. But first, let me start with the combat. I think it's awesome. I really like their approach to turn-based combat. I really do. I guess as a Souls person who loves Sekiro and stuff like that, like I love the parry and dodge system. I love the dodge. You have a bigger window for evasion, but if you actually parry it, you can get more beneficial effects.
You know what I really love about that?
Counter damage. What?
I really love that they give you a different message for when you're hitting the dodge window and when you hit the parry window. It lets you learn, and it lets you decide when you're going to go into a more risky type of strategy. So for people that haven't played this game, the dodge window is a lot bigger than the parry window. And if you hit the bigger part of the window, it'll just say dodge. And if you hit the parry part of the window, it'll say perfect. So you can play this game. You can say, all right, I got a new enemy in front of me. I'm going to dodge what they're attacking. I'm going to try at least. It's going to say dodge a bunch of times. When it starts to say perfect a lot of times, you can decide I'm now going to swing into parrying, because parrying gets you both action points most of the time and allows you to counter them for big attacks without spending your own turn if you can parry everything that they do. So I love that system, and I don't mean to take over what you're saying, Brad. I just wanted to point out that I love that little bit. They do a lot of really good little things in this game. And one of those is having a different message depending on which part of the dodge window you're hitting, so that you can play the game even better as you go forward.
Absolutely. And just to add on to your add-on, that I'm interrupting Grandpa. Sorry, Rick, because you're cooking right now. The thing that I also love that is the ultimate feel-good moment is you'll have the group moment where they will throw a counter down and you'll see Expedition 33 has countered the move, or Expedition, like that feels so satisfying to get a parry or a jump. Like it's little, but other games don't do it. And again, here's the thing, Brad, you know me, I'm not the Souls guy. So I feel like I'm in your world right now. And adding this, and I must admit, I get it, man. I get that rush, that satisfaction when you beat that tough thing that's been challenging, and you push yourself and you learn some of the patterns. It is one of the best, adrenaline rushes you could have. But yeah, I want to give you credit for mentioning
Well,
that.
now it's time for you to play Sekiro, Cog.
Oh, let's not get crazy.
You love the vibes, the ninja vibes. It's time. You're starting to feel the parries. We're gonna get you in slowly.
You tricked me with the turn basic. I like to stay here.
Yeah. I really appreciate the flexibility in the builds you were kind of talking about this, like the Picto system. There's a ton of Pictos to choose from. Like, and some of them are really game changing. Like, I love the lifesteal one. I think that's really fun.
So good.
I just got one I had to invest a lot in, but I get like double the health back now from life stealing. So it's really huge. And I have a weapon that gives me an extra attack. So I can just like heal a character back up to full essentially. And just like a normal turn. So that's really fun. It really feels like an interesting way, and I bet this comes into play more in like New Game Plus, is like it feels like you can break the game in a fun way.
Yes.
I don't have a problem with that games necessarily being able to do that as long as it's fun doing it. Not like I think Final Fantasy VIII is not fun necessarily how it does in that game breaking mechanic, but I think it works so far here, and I really appreciate that. I like the skill tree with the characters and getting to pick all their moves. Some of them kind of seem a little too similar to me often, but there is a lot of variety still, even though with that as well. So the combat I think has been great. I love the jump mechanic. Jumping over stuff and countering in the air is really fun. I do like the counter you get when they do special like super abilities too, where you like have to counter. I think is really fun. I love all that kind of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Also, I love the world map. I think it's cool. All of us grew up with those old school RPGs, so it is very comforting for us, and it's fun going through it. I wish the music was a little more jolly. I think Gene brought this up too before on the world map. The whole game is oppressive and it makes sense. But at the same time, I'm like, well, I guess everyone's in a desperate situation. It's not a happy game. So yeah, I guess it kind of fits the narrative of the game. So, and there's some fun stuff to find out there. There's some side quests, which I thought were cool. Just run into. Nothing. I haven't done like a side quest yet. There's like a couple mini games in the game, which are kind of interesting though. But I haven't gotten to a side quest place yet where I feel like I'm doing something completely new or different. I'm like kind of doing the same stuff, it feels like. And it may sound like I'm nitpicking a lot of stuff, and it is nitpicking in a lot of ways, but I just looked up, and this is like one of the highest, I think, user-rated games of all time. And I'm not seeing that quite yet in the game. I think it's an excellent video game, easily a Game of the Year contender, and one of the best RPGs I've played in a long time. But I'm not seeing like this generational thing, I guess, that other people are seeing quite yet. I haven't finished the game, so I don't know yet. I will agree with you, Cog. The dialogue, I do like getting to know the characters more. I think that's really cool. And spending time with them at the campfire, I like. It does feel slightly tacked on to me. Like, when you get to a moment, it feels like with characters, to progress them, it's all at once kind of thing. That's what it feels like right now. And I wish there's a little more sprinkled throughout the whole thing, not just like one big block for like, okay, well, now 15 minutes, I'm just going to go through everybody and kind of get through all this kind of stuff. I wish it felt like a little more organic, I suppose, instead of just everyone at once. But the other hand, it's like, hey, this big event happened in the game and everyone wants to talk about it right now. But which makes sense, but I kind of wish there's more things sprinkled throughout it right now. So there's that. The weapon upgrade system is pretty basic, but I guess it's fine because the weapons themselves are pretty different. They have like really unique properties, which I think is really cool. Some of the characters I think are just okay. Like how you say your name, CL,
yeah.
CL is just fine, I guess. I'm like not really that interested in them at all. I like them, but a lot of them aren't selling me on them being like some of the best RPG characters of all time yet. Like Lune's fine. A lot of the story seems to revolve around Mael, so I'm waiting for more of that to come into the game. I like Monaco. He's one of my favorites to use. He's like a blue mage essentially from Final Fantasy, and he's really fun. I like you kill enemies and he like collects their legs and you get new enemy skills. I think that's really fun, and I always like that kind of stuff.
Get the foot fetish.
Yeah, he's got a foot fetish, but I like the blue mage gameplay style. It's really fun. So I think from a gameplay perspective, the combat is excellent. The only thing I would nitpick is the button prompts for more damage. I think are too easy, and you could just nail them every time because they're always the same button prompt. I liked in RPGs when it was more like timing based in the sense of like right when you hit them. That's what it kind of felt like. Like Super Mario RPG, What was it? Sea of Stars recently was more like that. I feel like there was more skill involved in that, but maybe that's asking too much because there's so many skill checks already in the gameplay. But that's just a nitpick of mine.
Yeah, they do seem a little arbitrary. They just throw up X's.
Yeah, and it's just like it's super easy and like whatever. Like almost you can turn your brain off pretty much when you do it now. But so far the game is great. And I really like it a lot. I'm curious to see how I'll feel about it when I finish, because I feel like the story, I need more from the story right now. I don't think I'm not resonating with as much as other people. Don't get me wrong, I still think it's very good. I'm just not resonating with people the way other people seem to be resonating with the game in a lot of ways from a story perspective. Gameplay perspective, I'm there with you guys, 100%. Just some of the story yet. I haven't finished the game yet, so this could easily change. And I still think it's an excellent game. I'm just not up there yet where I'm like, favorite game of all time kind of thing like that. Yeah. I wasn't getting that drive that I get with some games where I'm like, I have to play this right now. I got to play it. Thing like that. I was like, all right, it's time to play kind of thing. But yesterday I had a really good session with the game, so it was clicking more with me. But so far, yeah, excellent video game. I really like it a lot. The budget kind of limits it in some ways, like movement with your character when you're walking around and platforming and stuff is all very, it's fine. You know, it is a smaller, it's not a AAA game, and what they've done is extremely impressive. Yep. But there's some mini games where you have to use like the controls particularly to do stuff well. Like there's like a volleyball game, and I'm like, the movement is just not good enough for this, I feel like. And I know there's like some platforming stuff later on that's just like, but gameplay, top tier, I would say combat wise. I really like the world map. It's awesome. The music is really great, as you were saying as well. I kind of am hoping for a little more variety in the dungeons as you're going through them, like stuff you're doing in them. Actually, I need a little more variety. Like I went in one, there's like some floating like platforms, but it's not like, it was extremely easy. It wasn't like I had to think about what I was doing and stuff like that. I guess I'm just kind of expecting more from some things like this when I'm seeing how hard people are raving about it. And maybe that's just the reality of expectations being built up for me by the way people are talking about this. I have a theory on this.
Yes, I definitely have a theory on that. I do think that this battle system, as you rightly pointed out, Brad, is very, very good. And I think it is breaking open the entire concept of a Japanese role-playing game for an audience that hasn't really engaged with them before. So I think a lot of the resonance you're seeing is people finding out how poignant, how melodramatic, how much of that can be in a game like this that aren't otherwise blocked by the turn-based combat in this particular game. And so I do think for Expedition 33, it doesn't maybe have all the bells and whistles that you might expect from a fully featured Final Fantasy or an Atlas game or anything else. But there are so many more people that are engaging with this battle system and saying, yep, that's fun to me, that you're getting a lot of this audience for the first time. So I think that's great. I think it's great to take down those barriers. I do have certain concerns with things, but I want to give all my disclaimers up front, just like Brad was doing in the middle there, because I do love this game. I really do. It's going to be on my top 10 games of the year list. I know that sitting here right now, there's not enough games coming out between now and then for it to be knocked off. But I also have to give the disclaimer that this was by far the game I was looking forward to the most this year. My girls were so sick of me updating them on how many days we had left to Expedition 33 that they said, we're going to make you a paper chain, Dad, like we did in elementary school. And it's still hanging in my bedroom with the names of the characters on it so that you don't have to update us anymore. Now, the joke was on them because that's when Kepler and Sandfall announced they were going to do weekly character videos, and we watched them all. But I was so enthused about this game going in. I loved the premise. The paintress must fall. All of the dour melancholy that you could see from the trailers and the direct that they did with Xbox. I was so on board. And the one thing I will say as part of that is, like I always say in the Bitcast, is that disappointment is a function of expectations. And I knew going in that I was expecting way too much from this thing. Like it was unhealthy, the level of excitement I had for Expedition 33. And as it turns out, it mostly met those expectations, but not entirely. It's not entirely the game that I was looking for out of this experience. And so I feel like I have a very nuanced take on a lot of the things that go into this game. The internet, my social media timeline in particular, is not super enthused about my nuance on this stuff right now. So I say that as my disclaimer. Just remember, as I say these things, I love this game. And in all honesty, when I love something, that's when most of the nuanced critique comes out for me.
Love hard. You love hard, Hoeg.
So going into this game, I was super excited about the premise. I was really interested in how they were going to explain the world of all this crazy visual stuff we were seeing in the trailers. You've already seen it if you've seen the trailers yourself, the floating water, the fish flying by people's faces, the other things you can see. And where I become most disappointed with Expedition 33 is in the central conceit of the narrative that, without spoiling anything, really takes away from their inclination, maybe ability, I don't know, to world build the continent, the place that you are adventuring in through Expedition 33. To me, an expedition is having adventures, having stories told as you go through lands unknown. To some extent, they do that, but because of what they've built here, it's mostly levels that are more reminiscent of the connectivity that you might find in Mario 64, that they're not really connected in a true world. It's not the experience that I get from Final Fantasy. It's not the experience I get from an Atlas game. And that wound up disappointing me. And on top of that, the conceit of the game is telegraphed very heavily. To me, this is a first effort from a studio. I want to give kid gloves to this because it is tremendous. I agree entirely with what
it is tremendous.
You've said, Brad, in terms of battle system. I agree entirely with what you've said, Cog, in terms of music. I think it might be the best musical score of all time. And video games have tremendous musical scores. I'm including on that list Final Fantasies, Metal Gear Solids, whole host of games that have just tremendous musical scores. I think this might be the best ever. And so I think the art that they've put into this game, the visuals that you're experiencing as you go through it, the music that you're experiencing as you go through it, probably best in class or close to it. And while you're playing that game, you're playing a battle system that you're enjoying the whole time. But my nitpicks are these. One, in the battle system, I do think that it's great that you're engaged the whole time, that you're dodging and you're parrying, and it can feel good often. I do think it takes away from the build crafting a little bit, because I think that when you first encounter a monster, like you're in a Souls game, there's very little you can do if you don't have any notion of what their animation is going to do to you. And because they hit so hard, you can have the best built team that you've ever built in your life, and you're going to get smacked down because these hits are going to hit all three of you. They're going to hit you hard. They're going to stun you when they hit you, and then they're going to kill you on the second hit. And that's fine. That's giving you that engagement that you're enjoying so much in the rest of your battles. But it means that the rhythm of the game is that you're going through these segments, you're seeing a new monster, you're saying, okay, I'm going to try to dodge everything that you throw at me. As the game progresses, that gets harder and harder and harder to do. That's normal, but it does mean that you're not getting the benefits of a turn-based system, or what I like out of a turn-based system, as much as you could be. That strategy, that what am I going to do here? How am I going to build my team to survive this? At some level, at some point, you can build your team really well. They're going to have a little bit more hardiness than they might otherwise have because of your efforts. But if you can't dodge that 5-attack sword combo, then you're going to be in a world of hurt either way. And I do think that takes away from what I love so much about turn-based games. I think that's making it approachable to a whole new audience. I think that's great. But it does mean it's a little less than, for me, playing something like a Metaphor, right? Like, I enjoy Metaphor more on the traditional level that I enjoy turn-based strategy on. I'm thinking about what I'm going to do, how I'm going to hit those particular weaknesses and get that extra turn, what I'm going to do with it, who is in what job class, and working through that. But this battle system is tremendous nevertheless, because of all that build crafting that you both talked about. I love board games. We talked about Final Girl earlier in this episode. And one of the things I think they do really well is you only have space for 6 skills. And all those skills do different things, and they do it at different action point levels. So you're figuring out, like you're in a card game, a board game that you're playing at your own counter or table, what kind of levels of action points you want to have available to you. You're trying to figure out loops that are going to work best, and you're finding these synergies across characters. I think, to its credit, it's one of the best kind of individual powers for characters games that I've played in this genre since Final Fantasy VI, maybe. Like, everybody has their own ball of wax. They have their own resource pool that they're building up, their own little trick that they're doing while they play, and they all bounce off each other in a really cool way. So I love that. I love that system. Unfortunately for me, the story never gets there, and it is so telegraphed so early on that what I was so excited about from the premise dissipates very quickly for me. And I would love to say more on a spoiler cast, I won't say more in Summon Sign.
Yeah, we'll talk about that more. But yeah, we're just going to be clear. We have some criticisms, but we still think the game's excellent. I know people are very protective of this game right now for some reason.
100%. I think it's fantastic. I do think one other nitpick that I do have, just because I heard you both kind of talk about it a little bit, is that it should be clear to people that are watching this streaming or otherwise, it's not a AAA game. You can immediately see kind of the lack of that last level of polish, which I think costs millions and millions of dollars from the really big studios. But it's one notch below that. And it's mostly covered up with just tremendous art and tremendous music. But the animations that you get from the running, my daughter laughs every time that she watches Gustav run because he dips his shoulders all the way.
He did run goofy.
It looks crazy. But it's that kind of animation. I think the platforming in this game is bad. But to the credit of Sandfall, the platforming is almost all for bonuses in the late game or post game. And is mostly not main pathway. There's a couple of exceptions to that don't work great. But I don't love the platforming. I don't love when they ask you to do those things with the controls, like the volleyball game that you were talking about. Sometimes you just got to know where the end of your skill set or what you've put out there in your game is. And I don't think they do. But again, debut game. Like, it's crazy that we're talking about this in this capacity as like, oh, do you like Final Fantasy 16 or Expedition 33 better? I probably lean on 16 a little bit. Although I wish it had a combat system that were closer to 33's. But I like the world building. I love what is in that game more than I like 33's. I also don't want to discount. So many people seem to be emotionally resonating with this game. And again, I'm a corporate lawyer. It's not really where my bread is buttered on emotional resonance. I love melodrama. I love JRPGs. But I am always going to look at world building. I'm always going to look at analysis and analytical readings of stories. And I think once the emotionality fades on this, that actually looking at what happens in this game, how it's telegraphed, the story that it tells, it's probably going to be a little bit less well received in the future than it is right now. And I think that's large part because so many people are reacting to the tremendous levels of art that are in the visuals, in the CGI, in the music. And the story that they're telling is of such high levels of poignancy that if you're not playing JRPGs regularly, if you're not dealing with these kinds of things in metaphor or otherwise, this can hit you like a ton of bricks. So I think there are issues. Sure. I do not think it's perfect. I think it is a very, very good game. It belongs on the top 10 of the games of the year list. It's been a tremendous year for games already. And I'm very impressed with what they were able to put out here. It's just not the world building and story that I had hoped for.
Sure. Yeah. We got some write-ins about the game. This is from Jared R. Hey guys, I'll keep it simple. Without getting specific as to the whys and all, does Expedition 33 have serious Kingdom Hearts vibes to y'all too?
I defer to you guys. You guys are the Kingdom Hearts guys.
I will say no. I would say Final Fantasy 16 has way more Kingdom Hearts vibes than Expedition 33.
Sense. There's a couple things that kind of remind me of Kingdom Hearts, a couple things, but not necessarily. No, I wouldn't say so. Just a couple things where I'm like, oh yeah, I guess, but nothing whole crazy yet.
It might be just the emotionality. I mean, certainly Kingdom Hearts is deeply invested in love and emotions between the characters, and that's happening a lot in Expedition 33. I tend to read it personally as more French than, anime friends we made along the way, power, friendship, whatever, that I usually ascribe to Kingdom Hearts. But yeah, it definitely is playing deeply in the pools of human emotion.
Yeah.
This is from Dallas Reynolds. Hello, Summoners. I need help. I've been trying to play Clair Obscur Expedition 33, and it's been rough. I think the environments, visuals, and story are pretty exceptional, but I'm getting destroyed in the combat. Is there a trick I'm missing? Is this White Boy's lack of rhythm striking again? I just can't get the timing right. Anyways, it's always a pleasure listening to Hoeg and Cog, and of course, Brad. Y'all have a lovely day.
Do you always get these slight slams in your write-ins, Brad?
Yes. Oh, yeah.
Yes. Welcome to LSM.
There you go. I think I can give a tip on this if you want one.
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, so first of all, we already talked about start with dodge. That parry window is small.
Yes.
So you want to start with dodge. But more than that, the parry window is earlier than you think. So you can check it when you get perfects. But basically what you're looking for is like when you're on the basketball court and you're looking for when the hips move.
Yeah.
You're looking for when whoever is attacking you starts their motion with the actual attack string. So they're gonna do some various stuff with their arms and legs. Ignore all that. Then they're probably gonna get to a pose with the sword above their head or what have you. When it starts to move, that's when you hit the button, and you'll see that it'll say perfect when you do that in the right timing enough times. And to the credit of Sandfall, again, almost all of the enemies have that kind of pattern where they'll have something where there's a hold, and then they will start moving, and that's the window. The problem as you get later on in the game is that somebody will do that 5 times in a row, and it'll be on a delay. And when I was playing this game, it'll be like, okay, so it's 1, 2, delay, 3, 4, long pause, 5.
Yeah.
And so that's what you're going to have to get used to. But start with dodge. Absolutely start with dodge. Use one of the very first pictos they give you, which is Dodger, that gives you an AP back for your first dodge of the turn.
Love that one.
And you'll be okay. Then you can move on to parrying. Do not start with parrying. That is a mistake. Or I believe the Expedition 33 social media team put out there, start with dodge and then move to parry. And a bunch of people were saying, get good to them. And they had a joke. They had a joke response tweet that was like, oh, you're right. We didn't mean to suggest you should start with dodge and learn parry. You should just die until you get it. So do whatever feels right. But dodge is the way to go to start out with if you don't like dying.
Yeah, I would agree. I think for me, as a person who struggled initially, because one thing I think the game a great job. They have multiple ways of telegraphing, fainting. These enemies can get really devious. The patterns, like Hoeg was saying, like 1, 2, 3, slow, wait. You have to mentally put it into your brain what they're doing. So it's going to take some failure, but dodge is the way to go. And I think for me, one thing that I had to learn was patience, because sometimes, like what the enemy will like to do, sometimes the enemy, before they hit you, they like to jump in your face and not do anything just yet. And my instinct was like, oh, wait, pause, parry, and I'm like, wait for it to fully play out into that very last second, then give it a shot sometimes. Now, some you have to be very quick. Like Hoeg said, the window is small, so you got to be fast as soon as you see the animation. But you'll start to get the game is very rhythmic. And once you get into the rhythm of the parries, and you do like your first, because the thing what happens also is you have to sometimes parry the complete combo.
Right? To get the counter.
To get the counter. But when you get your first one, it is so satisfying, and that'll build your confidence up with slower enemies and stuff like that. Sometimes just work on one enemy, as opposed to getting that pattern down and see how you encounter stuff like that.
You definitely want to focus down on
focus
animations of one.
Yeah, absolutely.
And what I used to do when I was playing is the other tip here is that they will announce what their attack is in text at the top of the screen.
Yes.
And you can use that, and you can not only learn what you want to parry, you can separate out when you feel comfortable parrying. So if you know the mime's going to hit you with the hammer and you're not comfortable parrying that, you can dodge around that, but you get used to him hitting with your hands, then you're going to be able to recognize when he's going to do that and be ready to parry those instead of dodge those. So you can pick and choose your spots. Again, that does get harder as you go, but you can certainly at the start.
Excellent advice. Pay attention to the text fonts of what type of attack is coming. Such and such is doing his maul combo. Such and such is doing the swipe. And then you're like, wait a minute, okay, the swipe, that one, I feel a little risky, right? I can take that risk. That other one, oh no, we dodging that until I get that down. But to your point, Hoeg, now if you're dodging and you're seeing perfects, it's time to step up and put your risk on the line and say, okay, you've got that timing now. Now just go for it. That's all it is. But would you get any advice, Brad, for you? Because you're the Souls guy. I'm assuming
I was going to say what Hoeg said, but picking your battles on what you want to parry and dodge. Like you're saying, if they're going to do a big hit combo, maybe just dodge all that. But if they do one, like a hit attack, just block, then you'll get the counter damage as well. One thing I'll also say is the sound is really good. Or really helpful for getting the rhythm down, because they kind of make like an audio cue, like when they're gonna do it. So pay attention to that. You'll know when that kind of stuff is. So you guys are like, Cog's giving advice like he's a Souls player. Cog, man, I think it's time for you to step in the wheelhouse, dude. Patience, you're bringing up patience now.
I'm proud of you. I don't need this in my life, man.
Yeah, I'm proud of you.
Dealing with an expedition. You was able to sneak it in. And I see, Brad. I see what you're doing, man.
Yeah, dude, this is good. This is good. I like this. One thing about the game is I am very happy about is it seems to be getting people into the genre that are not typically in there. So if this is a gateway for people to get into these kind of games, I'm very happy about that.
And that's what I love, because again, my litmus test is Ebontis, because like I'm the turn-based guy. He's not. But he's the Souls guy. I'm not. He tried Expedition. And he's like, oh, this is it. This is the one for me. So it is what we're saying, like Hoeg said, this is bridging the gap. This game has finally got the anti-turn-based guys to say, you know what? I will try this. Because let's be honest, the Soul genre has taken over. And even simple things like when you go to, and one thing I do love about the game is I do love seeing expedition flags of the ones that came before.
Yeah, that is cool.
I love that. And they'll give their little, hey, this is what we did, you know, that kind of thing. But also from a Soul standpoint, the rest option. Because when you hit rest, then things respawn. So you have to pick and choose. Like, maybe I don't rest right now. I'll use the vials here so that I can keep going and try to clear things out. So that's where it's like, it's this nice, cool little marriage. But to Hoeg's point, I get what you're saying as a hardcore turn-based guy. Like, we're coming from metaphor. There's certain aspects of strategy that will be minimized because if you don't get your parries down and you get hit a lot, it doesn't matter too much of your build at that point. It will be, for the most part, negated, especially with enemies, sub combos. They're silencing you. They're like, you have to avoid this. Otherwise, it will destroy your playstyle. So that's where, I guess, where the casualization, I want to say, maybe that's the wrong word to use, it comes in because it forces people to have to learn those mechanics. Otherwise, it doesn't really matter.
Yeah. Well, I think to their credit, again, I think that it's a totally valid concern. I don't love that happens, especially as you proceed through the game. But I think that they have gained this extra audience and not really burned too many of me. I'm not even all the way out. I like this game a lot. Yeah. So I think they bridged that gap pretty darn successfully. Again, especially for a first effort.
And what I will say to add on is, like, if you do get good at certain things, whether it be, you know, countering or certain aspects of the pictos, you can kind of lean into a play style and literally form that out with the passives based on what you're specifically doing well. And I was noticing certain things. I'm like, you know what? I'm really good at this. So I'm going to make this kind of a build and stuff like that. And you start to, like, to Brad, you said it perfectly. You could start to get OP and really push the game and break the game on a playstyle if you're really good at certain things and just lean all the way into, like, case in point. With me, I'm like, all right, you know what? I don't need to. I was doing the healing stuff a lot, but I started saying, you know what? I'm so good at the countering. I'm like, you know what? I'm going to make it where she doesn't heal. And I'm doing a plus 50 plus damage, but I don't heal. And I'm putting pictos into that. I'm doing a whole build where she's just a powerhouse and can take a little bit of damage as well. But I have to recognize, okay, she's not going to heal until the match is over. We have to get into the, you know, so my Lume healing wasn't working for her, kind of thing. So you play around with certain things based on your play style. I'm just curious, like, for you, Brad, like, what did you go with the makeups of certain characters, like, with your skill trees and stuff?
I can tell you. So I'm using Verso. Verso is like my most powerful character right now because I can attack like so many times, and I have a crazy lifesteal with him. And I'm using Lune. I like her a lot, and I'm using I always forget his name. What is it? Monaco.
Yeah,
because he's like the blue mage. I think it's funny. I always like seeing and getting new abilities with him and just messing with that. So that's the party I'm using right now.
Okay.
I don't know, Cog. So it's been weird because I'm just kind of really experimenting with stuff like that. I'm not really worried necessarily about with all the characters like making an optimal build or anything like that. I'm just kind of like, oh, I wonder what this is. I want to track this. I'm like very curious about seeing stuff and just kind of messing with that. I haven't respec'd anyone yet. I have like a ton of stuff to respec if I want to. So if I want to get real crazy and be like min-max a certain kind of thing, but I'm kind of just spread out over everything with most everybody. So
got you. One thing I doubled down was kind of like the burn builds that actually do crits and then also give health. Yeah. And then the other thing I was doing is experimenting with break builds, that yellow bar, things that lean into that to get that break to stop bosses from over DPS. And if I can do that, and I was having a lot of fun with that. So what about you, Hoeg? Any specific synergies or types of things you were kind of going for with your pictos or your characters in general? What characters were you using? If you want?
So my end game team was Mael, Monoko, and you said Verso. I can say Verso, right?
Yeah, Verso.
Yeah,
okay, Verso.
Mhm.
So that was my endgame team. And yes, don't undersell the value of the combo attack Picto, because that second attack is not just a lame additional number. It's an additional attack point,
Yes.
and it's an additional whatever else your attack is doing. So you can heal off of that. You can do a whole bunch of things that you can bounce around. But yes, I had essentially a gatekeeping point midway through Act 2 where I realized the value of burn, and I swapped all of my L to burn the world down.
Yes.
Burn's good. Yeah, burn is good.
And shield stealing. I got into a very crazy shield stealing build.
I saw that ability. I haven't messed with it yet, but I did see that.
Oh, it's busted when you get going. You can get a 3 or 4 thing. I got shield affinity. Oh my god, it was just so much fun I was having with that.
Yeah,
stuff.
that's cool. Mm-hmm. I think that's like kind of showing the shining example of how good the combat is when we're just talking flexible. About this kind of it's really flexible and super fun. But we'll do a spoiler cast for sure sometime, but we'll probably talk about a little more over the next week or two till I finish it. Mm-hmm. But yeah, Expedition 33 is very good. Yeah. Check it out. It's on really everything, pretty much.
You should check it out.
Mm-hmm. And it's on Game Pass, so give it a shot. Mm-hmm. All right, Hoeg, let's talk about Old Skies. I have no idea what this is. I'm going to look this up real quick.
I like your faith in me, Brad, that I'm not just making up game names when I give you the games that I want to talk about.
There's so many more ridiculous game names than this.
All right, so I'm a big time adventure gamer from way back. I love the LucasArts adventure games. I love the Sierra adventure games. I grew up on Space Quest and King's Quest, and that grew up into Gabriel Knight, which was one of my favorite kind of dark fiction stories way back in the day, and Gabriel Knight 2, where you may or may not become a werewolf in Bavaria. It's a whole thing. Check it out if you're interested in 90s full motion video, people. But suffice it to say, I love adventure games, and what, in my view, is the modern indie company that has best picked up the flag of adventure games is a company called Wadget Eye. And they made a game about a decade ago called Unavowed that was a Gabriel Knight-esque game where you are fighting the supernatural while also being in New York City and being a cop or otherwise down in the noir streets. But over the past decade, they've been working on a project called Old Skies, in which you are a representative of a corporation that has been given the license to regulate time travel technology. And so you are the supervisor of clients that want to go do something in the past. And you are managing what it is that they can change in the past, what they're not allowed to change in the past, going through various stories that are going to have paradoxes and loops and things like that. And this reflected on not just Unavowed and Wadget Eye, who makes great adventure games, but also one of my favorite adventure games of all time, which is a 90s game called The Journeyman Project. And more specifically, The Journeyman Project 2, Buried in Time, which is one of my favorite stories ever. And I was so enthused about jumping into an adventure game with time travel from one of my favorite adventure game makers that I dove on the demo when they released this a while back. And then it took a long period of time from that release to this game actually coming out. It is just as good as I'd hoped. I have not beaten this one yet, but I think it's basically a gem. If you at all like a point-and-click adventure game, Wadget Eye has taken all of the kind of modern improvements to that genre. You don't have to click to look at something. It's all in tooltips when you highlight it. The inventory is all on the top of the screen. It's all very pronounced and clear what you can and can't interact with in your screen. That I think people would really enjoy this if they like time travel, if they like science fiction, if they like storytelling in this type of framework. So yes, with 100 Line and Old Skies, I'm advocating a lot of reading and a lot of storytelling in your video games, but that's what I love the most. And Old Skies is so far, I'm about halfway through, I would guess, absolutely fantastic.
Nice.
I don't have a lot of experience with these kind of games, Hoeg. I didn't grow up with a PC, so I missed a lot of the adventure games. But I'm curious, is there anything, I guess, setting this game apart from a lot of those conventional adventure games that you'd say right off the bat?
I would say that back in the day, especially the early Sierra games, there were a lot of easy ways to die. You'd walk off a cliff, a chandelier would fall on you. There were just ways to kill you just because. This isn't focused on that. As we went on in adventure game making, that really got seen as passe. You don't want to just kill the player for no reason. Right. So it doesn't have those kind of stopping points. It's all been kind of modernized, so you're always moving forward. It has an in-narrative kind of helpline if you get really stuck on anything in particular. Similarly, modern adventure games don't really get the pulley in the rubber chicken problem that like Monkey Island and LucasArts games have, where you have to combine your whole inventory in really weird ways to solve problems in really odd ways. So far in Old Skies, it's primarily about what would make sense for me to figure out in this particular context. One of the things in this game that is not in other adventure games is that because you are from the future, you can look up the names of various people and see what their future holds, see when they appeared in newspaper articles and things like that, and learn more about what might make sense for you to be doing in whatever problem you're facing in this particular game. So I think all modern adventure games have kind of streamlined those kinds of things. I think Wajidai is the most successful. Again, they haven't released a game in a very long period of time. So this was excitement just because it took a long time for this one to come out. This is, in some ways, Hoeg's Grand Theft Auto 6. So I was very excited about this.
Love it. That's cool, man.
Yeah, I guess I don't know like a lot of questions to ask you about it because I just don't know a lot about the genre, but you did say less obtuse puzzle solving, I suppose.
Yes.
And don't have to worry about
mustaches.
Death. Yeah, no cat mustache. You don't got to worry about death. Do you think this is a good place for someone who's new to the genre to jump in?
Yes, I actually think it's very accessible because it is so straightforward in its puzzles so far, again, halfway through the game. And the visuals are very similar to kind of the improvements that were happening back in the 80s and 90s, again, at Sierra. So this particular game is a little bit more almost looking rotoscope animated rather than the pixel people of Unavowed and Blackwell, the earlier Wajidai games. So it's interesting to see essentially a decades later evolution from this particular company, this particular designer, in the same manner that adventure games went through back then. So I think it's very approachable for people. I think it's a pleasing image at the end of the day. Some people have already said, I've seen online that they don't like it. They prefer the pixel art. I don't blame them. That's a different looking game. But I think it's very approachable. I think the puzzles and what you're doing in the game is very accessible. It's not asking you to be really obtuse, as you say. So I think it's a good entry point. I don't remember what I paid for it. I don't think it's an overly expensive game on PC. The only downside with what happened with this particular game release is it was supposed to release day and date on Switch. And the designer put out a video blog that explained that their day zero patch broke the saves from the pre-day zero state. And Nintendo wouldn't let them release the game, even though that game wouldn't have been available with the broken saves. Anyway, it's just paperwork at the publisher's place of business. So that game's not going to come out on Switch until at least June now, is what they say. So it would work great on Switch. You can't play it on Switch right now.
Not yet. Okay. Cog, any questions for Hoeg or anything like that or anything else?
No, I remember these style games, man. Just taking me back to the era of Monkey Island and all stuff. So my early type joints. And this kind of reminds me of that flavor. And to see them still alive and well is pretty interesting. But those are kind of my early kind of footholds in gaming and stuff like that. I remember stuff like this. Very engrossing.
Cool. I love adventure games. And check out Buried in Time, Journeyman Project 2. You don't need the first one, I promise. If you can find that available anywhere, check it out.
All right. Very nice. Okay, boys, let's end this show with some write-ins from the audience. If you want to write into this show as well as any of our other shows, we post a thread every week on our Patreon for each individual show. So keep an eye out there, calling for your submissions. If you want to write into the show, Sacred, Defining Duke, Punching Up, all that good stuff. Okay, this is from Exodus. Hey guys, I just noticed you're all playing Clair Obscur Expedition 33. I've recently just finished the main story and I'm going through the post-game content. Easily my go-to so far. My question is, do you have any lesser known / hidden gem game recommendations for fans of Clair Obscur Expedition 33? Keep up the good work, gentlemen. Less known is always a weird thing because I feel like everybody knows about everything nowadays most of the time.
It is hard to separate our own knowledge from what other people might know on these things.
Yeah.
I mean, my tendency is to say if you like Expedition 33, you should check out Final Fantasy 16. That's got to be the most well-known RPG I could possibly recommend to you.
Right.
So that's not super helpful. Maybe if you're into the depthful storytelling, you want to check out Kingdom Come Deliverance 2 that came out earlier this year. Again, big name game. Not sure that matches the hidden gem category here. But there have been a lot of good stories told in games this year. So if that's what you found yourself connecting to, that's what I would recommend. if it is more of the dodge and parry, I think you could play First Berserker Kazan. I've really been enjoying as a Souls game so far. Brad probably knows more.
Yeah, I finished it. It's a long ass game, but it's good. It's fun. It's a very challenging game, though. Maybe
I
not
beat the Yeti,
first.
so I'm
you got
really
a
very
long
far.
way to go.
I got past the Yeti. I am a successful Kazan player.
Yes.
I might not never pick it up again.
But it's good. It's really fun. There's a demo for it too, so if you're curious about it. So for me, I guess it's like it depends what you like about Clair Obscur. Do you like turn-based combat? Do you want maybe like a more indie kind of RPG? You could check out an RPG with like input-based combat, like timing and stuff like that. You could do Sea of Stars, and they're having a whole new expansion that's coming out for that if you want. We talked about this last week with Ben. Is Chained Echoes is a really good like retro-inspired Japanese role-playing game. So that's really good. If you want something like that. If you want something more modern, I think Final Fantasy 16 is excellent. I love that game. It's not combat. It's not turn-based at all, though. So keep that in mind. If you want kind of like a more modern evolution of like turn-based kind of stuff, I guess it's not turn-based at all. It's the Final Fantasy 7 Remake and Rebirth series. Those aren't. Everyone knows those games, though. So I guess those aren't really hidden gems. All the Atlas games are really excellent, which are not hidden gems as well. Persona, Metaphor. So I feel like from like the turn-based perspective, it's hard to find a hidden gem. What I have heard, and I haven't played this game yet, though, is this game is very similar to Lost Odyssey in some ways. So if you have an Xbox Series X or S, you could probably check that out on there. I'm definitely going to get to that game, though.
Vibes-wise, yes.
Lost Odyssey, what I've heard. Yeah, I haven't played it. Yeah, so maybe that's one to keep an eye on. I don't know for anything else like similar to this game right off the top of my head.
No, that's to its credit. It's one of the things people are really responding to is there's not an Expedition 33 otherwise out there.
Yeah. But like we were saying, it's like are you looking for out of the game? Are you looking for the tone, the characters, the combat, stuff like that? What about you, Cog? Anything you'd like to recommend?
Yeah, you kind of nailed what the most of the stuff I was going to say, Brad, too. In terms of first, we got to determine what's the part of that expedition that's really standing out to him, and if it is the turn-based aspect of stuff, and if you want to mess with something a little bit more turn-based, again, I would have to recommend Metaphor, but it's one of those things that, again, what did he like about it? You know, if he really loved the interactive combat and parrying and stuff like that, then that's not going to satiate him on that stuff. But again, if you're going for that, darker feel and stuff like that. You got, also the sort of stuff you talk about Lost Odyssey, stuff like that. It's so many ways you can go. And then it's like Hoeg said, it's very tough because Clair is a melding of a lot of different things to make this unique, dessert, so to speak, kind of thing. So it's tough to think. But yeah, you just gotta kind of identify. I want to actually challenge you to follow up, like identify what's the aspect that's really hooking you specifically with with Expedition, and thus we could get you a more better, inline suggestion.
If you guys need game recommendations, this is the right podcast to write in about. You let us know what you like in games and what you like about them. We'll give you recommendations.
Oh yeah.
All right, this is from Alex Segovia, your buddy Hoeg right here.
Yes, it's Alex.
Hello, Brad and the contrarian of Healthy Cog. Oh, contrarian of Healthy Cog and Radical Hoeg. I think they said contrarian at first. Once in a while, a game comes around that just hits the right emotional beats to remind you the power of video games as an art form. Clair Obscur Expedition 33 has absolutely done that for me, where the hypothesis of its different elements touched me in a profound way. So I wanted to ask, have you ever been on a gaming funk where then a game snaps you out of it and reminds you why you still play? What games have done that for you? Excited to hear your experiences. Take care. P.S. Don't be too radical, Hoeg. You're still on trial.
Yes, he's poking at me because he knows that I have a little bit more of a negative take on the story of Expedition 33.
Yes.
But I can't believe he made you read Apotheosis. That's not fair, Alex. Brad has to read these live, man.
Yeah, I'm like reading, oh, okay. Let's see here. So any games that kind of brought you out of a funk, I guess, made you love with the medium again?
Yeah, I will tell you, coming out of my stroke and in recovery in 2023, I really couldn't play anything that demanded too much of my left thumb. And one of the things that really spoke to me and is one of the reasons I still play it today was Diablo 4. It didn't demand a lot out of me. I really loved going around the whole world and interacting with it. And I played it to death when I really couldn't do all that much with my left thumb. Similarly, at that same point in time, I really love an indie game called Dredge.
Yeah,
which essentially has you boat around and maybe or not deal with eldritch horrors while you boat around. And that, again, like Diablo, didn't ask you to be spinning around your left thumb and hitting things on a no-scope basis or anything else. But it was a lot of fun, and both of these games were able to reach me when I wasn't sure I was going to be able to play much of anything again.
Yeah. What about you, Cog?
Yeah, I think for me, it's usually I'll get into these ruts where I'm like, I'm burnt out. Same old, 100-hour game, all this stuff. And sometimes it's those smaller gems, man. Sometimes it's those little indies or those little double A's. And I remember Inside was one at the time. I really liked what was going on. One of my favorite games of all time is this game called Another World. It was made by one person, Eric Chahi. She got a chance to meet him. I was very
also
awesome.
French, right?
Right. France got it on lock right now, man. Telling you, man, they coming up, man. They making a resurgence. But Eric Chahi made Another World, and I remember just being so mesmerized by this game that had no voice, no text, and I'm just trying to figure out how to navigate in this world with your best buddy alien friend, and you're going on adventures together. It was classic, and it punched above its weight, graphically. So when I remember that game had the impact on me. And another one that got out of my funk was actually Inside, because it kind of, you could tell they were inspired by that. And this slow boy in this kind of dystopian, crazy world. It's not holding your hand. It's brutal. It's vicious. And I'm just trying to figure out, that, and the art style is just really cool. So I would say stuff like that. And last year, I think being Hoeg, we talked about this. I really loved what Capcom did with Path of the Goddess. I just thought it was so unique and different. I like to see different every once in a while. People take a risk in something that, let's be honest, in this games industry, people are very risk averse. They don't want to, take that shot, and this thing flops and it doesn't, go to a lot of audience. So I was very proud that they got a Game Pass bag and, Xbox helped fund the game. And, and I remember I watched the development on it and how these guys were building dioramas for the actual stages. Like, I was just like, this is like, what is this? I was like, what is going on with this, thing? And, we wax poetic, but I like those little stories in games. I think the one right now that's got me excited for some stupid reason, the altars. I'm just, everything about this game that's really
not stupid.
Firing for me. I don't know what it is. It's just this one guy, space sci-fi. He's stuck on this planet. He's got this wild technology in his machine. Everyone's left him. His crew's dead. And this replicator technology can make clones of himself in his past life. So it's all right, Brad. So this is Brad when he didn't get married, or this is Brad. This is Brad when he changed his career. And you can make these clones of these, and they have their own personalities. I'm like, this sounds wild to me. I love when games do craziness sometimes. Sometimes you got to get weird, but in a cool way. And I think it's really cool. When I played that demo, I'm like, I am so there day one, bro. I am all about what this studio is. 11-bit, I believe it's 11-bit Studios.
11-bit's the publisher. I don't know if they're developing.
Yeah. I forgot who the developer, but yeah, man, I'm in. So games like that always get me. So I'll be the day one.
I agree. Novelty is awesome. We don't see it enough because those budgets get too big and it has to be a certain way. There is a low budget game I'm looking forward to this month called Deliver at All Costs that is published by Konami. And I believe the developer is Far Out as a name, not just as an adjective. But the game is a fully destructible delivery game. So you're like breaking buildings and things while you deliver watermelons or aliens or starfish or whatever else you're delivering. Cool. Seems really cool. Looking forward to it later this month.
Yeah. Nice. What about you, Brett?
It's weird because I don't think there's a point where I ever stopped playing games. Maybe I played less games or something like that, but it was never something I've really stepped away from for a while that I could recall off the top of my head. There are games that come out and remind me, I'm like, wow, games are the fucking sickest. And that they don't get me back. And like, I remember Shadow of the Colossus when it came out was like insanely impactful on me when that came out. I was like blown away by that game.
Yeah.
So there's games like that every now and then, but like I don't think there's anything that like got me back into the hobby necessarily. I've always just kind of had my foot in the water at least a little bit, no matter what. Even when like they're not speaking to me as much, I'm still playing something here every now and then. So I can't relate from that perspective.
The last couple of years have been really strong, I think. So I don't think there have been any of these doldrums, but I do remember in my gaming career that there would be month-long periods where it's like, all right, I'm in the middle of an RPG, I can play it out or whatever else I've already got, but I'm waiting for something big to hit in the fall or whenever it might be. And there's certainly been those times in my life, even while I'm playing.
There's definitely been times for my life, where I'm waiting a while for something, but it's like I'm still playing games during that time, you know?
Yeah.
Or maybe I'll just replay a game or something like that. Replayed a lot more games back then. Okay, this is from Kasdan Risk. Hey, Slippy, Sloppy, Summonussies. I have a question. Have any of you read Jason Schreier's book, Blood, Sweat, Pixels, Press Reset, Play Nice, or similar video game books? I just finished his book and really love them, especially the story of Blizzard and Play Nice. Interested to hear your thoughts. Take care. I have not read any of his books. I am kind of curious about the Blizzard one, just because I love that company, but the rest I haven't read. I have no idea.
Yeah.
I believe I was gifted Blood, Sweat, and Pixels. I think I only read a little bit of it. Yeah. So for whatever reason, wasn't the right time for me to read it. Wasn't connecting with me. Don't know. It's nothing against Jason. But I didn't read it all the way through. I have in the past read versions of corporate war books. I have a book on my shelf called Disney War, where there's a fight over the board of directors. And I would probably be more inclined to read those kinds of things about things like the Activision acquisition if somebody were to write that soon. Hint, hint. Yeah. Any investigative journalists out there? Be happy to buy a copy of that. But no, the answer in short form is no, not really.
What about you, Cog?
Yeah, I have actually. I had Jason on before. I think during his Blood, Sweat, and Pixels run, and just hearing the different stories of development from certain studios and stuff like that. I believe in that one, the Anthem story. I got my books mixed up, but I think Anthem was in one, and I thought that was very fascinating. And I just to hear, because sometimes as gamers we think we know and we get it wrong as far as what's actually happening with development. I think the consensus at the time was just like, that damn EA, what the hell are they doing? Those poor BioWare guys, they're not, utilizing the correct. And then when you started to learn about just the reporting that Jason did in terms of it, a lot of it was actually mismanagement as opposed to, and actually stuff with the engine, specifically with Frostbite and some of the team's frustration with that, coming into that proprietary engine that some were not comfortable with. Just you learn all these different things. I believe another book you had in terms of, was it that game Kurt Schilling had? What's it? I forgot the name. Was it Amalur?
That's Kingdoms of Amalur.
Yeah. And hearing the stories about that, and also with as a Destiny fan, and listening to some of the stories with Destiny's development and they're moving around, and you learn in terms of the Bungie magic and how things are really not coming together to the very last moment, and then that belief of a team to get through. So, I just thought it was interesting to hear these different accounts, of how sometimes things get put together, and obviously people going to Jason and telling him things that they weren't comfortable saying, during the time of development. So I thought that is also interesting as well. So yeah, I like hearing that. What a book I would recommend also was Cliffy B's book. I thought that was very interesting, hearing his story coming up with Gears of War and him Epic and all those guys before. I thought that was very fascinating, and also a lot of self-admission with mistakes he also made that I thought was also interesting to read as well. So I love those things, how the sausage is made, that kind of stuff, the trials, the tribulation, and like Hoeg said earlier, like I truly believe game developers are the heroes in the industry. For people to leave a lot of stable secular positions and then to say, I'm going to take a risk, I'm going to do this thing I love. We don't know what's going to happen. It may not sell 2 copies, but this is the mission I'm on, especially in the industry right now, like how volatile and crazy and the layoffs and stuff. And people are still not giving up the dream, man. So you got to respect it. So I love books like that where you get to learn a little bit behind the curtain what's going on.
Yeah. All right. This is from Guy Kotaku. Dear Expeditioners, you're playing a JRPG and your party is on a perilous quest to save the world from the deadliest threat ever. What costume do you select from your party members? A, the canonical costume as seen in the trailer. B, the silliest costume available. Think flamingo-shaped floater and sunglasses and a desperate barren world. C, forget what it looks like as long as it gives you the best stats. D, the sexy swimsuit. Of course, the only acceptable answer is D.
I was surprised, man. This is where playing Destiny gets me in trouble. I'm too much worried about my drip, man. It's a problem. It's about
Everyone
like
does.
I need to be optimal, Brad. But the problem is, I just can't have my character just looking all any kind of way.
Yeah.
It's got to look right. So I may sacrifice, that form and function over some a cool cape or a cool outfit or something that makes me look dashing.
You're
Like,
out there killing mines to get drip. That's what you're
That's
doing.
right.
Those mimes must die.
Listen,
Get
man,
the paintress.
got the page.
Mhm.
So Lume has to have a specific hairstyle. You know what I mean? I got to have, they got a lot of hairstyles for female, by the way. They are very active with these hairstyles. And but yeah, shout out to the moms though. They got those funny shades in the hats and stuff. I think I gave that girl, Brad, one of them red hats.
Yeah,
what's the
like
one?
a beret.
Yeah, I gave her a beret. I'll use her. I was like, yeah, you're the bench, so you go. You that signifies your B team level with my expedition. So that's the kind of foolishness I'll do sometimes.
Yeah.
I have a sneaking suspicion you guys know what my answer is to this, but I almost always keep my people in whatever their closest approximation to the dress they'll be wearing in the CGI is. So because those are pre-rendered, I try to match them as much as I can. Expedition 33, really no exception. On my New Game Plus, as I go on a different run, I may get a little bit crazier. Maybe put somebody in sunglasses. Sky's the limit.
Let's go.
But for the most part, I look at their outfits. I say that purple and that gold looks great. Why would we ever change?
Yeah.
You got to get that little fin, that little obscure. You got to get that little fin one. Mess around with that, man.
That's a wing, man. She's a one-winged angel.
Yes. Little one wing action for somebody. Make them stand out as the leader.
I know. I saw that outfit, and I'm like, "That's a one-winged angel. You can't fool me, Sandfall."
Yeah. For me, I don't really know. It depends on the game. Like if it's a very challenging game, I'm gonna wear the best stats. I don't give a shit. Give me those stats. But if it's like a pretty chill game, whatever I think looks the coolest, really goofy outfits sometimes take me out of it. Like if I'm in a situation, like a very dramatic scene, and like my character's wearing like a flamingo outfit or something like that, yeah, might take me out of it a little. But
it's every Yakuza game.
Yeah, I was just thinking of Yakuza Like a Dragon. That's literally what I was thinking about right now.
Yeah.
Yep. It's all those scenes. I will say this. This is one of my favorite notes in the UI that Clair Obscur does, which is that when you're setting up your game, they say, would you like to check the box for you appear in our movies as you've costumed your people, or would you like us to go back to the default?
Yeah.
So just to put me again in a shadier spot, they actually offer to put you back in normal clothes if you want to look wacky in battle.
Yes.
And they have a nice note there that says, you can select to not have this on, but it is funny if you let us put you in whatever during the movies, because there's going to be sad stuff. People are going to die. People are going to cry over dead people. It's going to be a whole bunch of emotion, but you might just be wearing a beret and funny sunglasses while you watch it.
Yeah, with a baguette.
With a baguette. Oh, yeah.
All right. This final write-in is from Tim. I don't know if it's a Chatin or a Chatin, whatever. Hey, boys. We finally have a release date for GTA 6 for May 26, 2026. Did you guys notice the brilliant business move of this date? This is the day after Memorial Day in the United States. How much of an easier sell will it be for the early access when you have a holiday weekend to take advantage of? Am I crazy for thinking this, or is this one of the most brilliant delays in history?
Well, I mean, I don't think it's actually going to hit that date, so this is somewhat discounted for me. In general, I always say if a date's far enough out, you increment a little bit from whatever they say. So if they had just said May, I would say June. Here they've got a specific date. I probably say give it another week, which puts you in early June anyway, but that's what I would guess. It's very far out to have a specific date for what is months and months of development time from here. So it could be, and that could be exactly the reason that you're thinking of. The thing that I noticed when they pushed it back was that they were pushing it back past the Microsoft Xbox games price increase window, which means that Microsoft is going to take the biggest slings for the games increase in price, and that Take-Two / Rockstar can probably pretty easily release this as 80, 90, or even 100 if they want, without maybe taking as much of a hit as they otherwise would. So that's what I saw from this delay. I wouldn't call it brilliant either way. I think they have to give it the time that it needs. But certainly as a company, it's been a little bit too long for my comfort if I'm an investor between projects at this company. I know they're making bank off of Grand Theft Auto Online, but I don't love that there's this wide gap between products actually hitting the market either way. So I hesitate to give it brilliant, but your thinking here could be right. They could be aimed at a Memorial Day release.
Yeah. What do you think, Cog? Anything?
I mean, I didn't really look that deep into it as far as like the Memorial Day connection, to be honest. I was just legit. I was actually surprised by it. I the reason why I think I got this one wrong is that I thought Borderlands was doing some inside baseball when they moved their release date up.
I thought so also.
Yeah, right. So I'm like, because think about it. I think I could count on my hand like how many times a release date moved up. So I'm like, okay, you're part of the 2K family. You must know something, Randy. You must know. And I figured there was some, gamesmanship there to get, Borderlands, some time to breathe. But no, it just didn't seem to be that because, GTA put that information out and now they're moving to next year. So look, at the end of the day, I just think the industry just breathes a collective sigh of relief. You could, anything coming out in 2025, you could drop, a little free, a little more casual now. And I think November and the rest of the months, things will start to line up there. But yeah, I was surprised. And to Hoeg's point, I was very surprised also the specificity, like exact date. We'll see if they hold to that, right? Because usually be like, okay, we're delayed, but we're delayed to, spring. Or fall. The fact that they were that specific, very interesting to me, and I got to see if they're going to hold out on that. That's another one. So
that whole thing was weird. The non-logoed black screen letter. I really thought somebody was just trying to troll online until I saw it come from Rockstar itself. It was a weird announcement.
Yeah.
Yep. All right, boys, that's going to do it for us for this episode of Summon Sign. Cog, Hoeg, thank you for joining me.
Absolutely.
Before we go, though, anything you guys want to shout out or say, or should we just get out of here?
No, I think I'm all set. People can find me on YouTube at Hoeg Law, but I haven't made a virtual legality or a Hangouts and Headlines in a little while. I intend to do that more often, but it's easier for me to be on these shows with fine gentlemen like yourselves. And so I am here a little bit more at Last Stand Media than I was before the last couple of months, and I'm happy to be here. Now, if you want to join in people yelling at me for not being as positive about Expedition 33 as apparently everyone else on Earth, you can find me on Twitter/X, and you can yell at me. I probably miss it because there's so many of those being said about me right now. But if you're inclined, please come visit me on X or Twitter.
Form a line.
Yeah.
Shout out to Hoeg, man. Now, this is funny. As for me, you already know Lord Cognito on Twitter. Only thing I will plug is IOP this Sunday is our 400th episode.
Oh, wow. Nice. 400.
Yeah,
jeez.
400. So try to cook up a little something. I'm going to reach out to you guys individually, just, some little things that we may ask in the community to do. If you do have time, you know what I'm saying? It would be really cool. And we try to do better. As we get older, try to be better about celebrating stuff. We just don't be celebrating stuff. So it's like, no, we have to do acknowledgement and stuff like that. So looking forward to it. Yeah, the hundreds, right? You got to.
We got to do the hundreds, yeah.
Yeah, man. So again, salute to our consistency and the fact that, we really didn't miss. And, obviously we're very fortunate, to be around and get the respect and love from the community and stuff like that. So, yeah, we're looking forward to it. And other than that, defining Duke this week and looking forward to, as the news broke, Brad, I'm like, I already know what the lead story is going to be.
Yeah, it's going to be a great conversation with you and Maddie. I'll check that out.
Absolutely.
All right, everybody. Thank you guys for watching and listening. We greatly appreciate it. And we'll see you next episode. Take care, everybody. Goodbye. Summon Sign is a product of Last Stand Media and Collins Last Stand LLC and is proudly recorded in the USA. The show is written and hosted by me, Brad Ellis. The show is produced by Dustin Furman. All of Last Stand's theme music is by Ramon Narvaez. Summon Sign, along with the rest of Last Stand's media shows, are fan-funded on Patreon at patreon.com/laststandmedia. The following names are at the producer level on Patreon, our highest tier, and we are grateful for your kind contribution and generosity to our independent endeavor. Thank you.